Chapter 506. At that moment, Tang Zheng felt like dying. Mu Hongyang, Nana, Lin Hu, and Fire Phoenix were all pinned under the four symbols. With the weight of the four symbols, they would have been reduced to minced meat, and he would become the indirect murderer. Kill! Tang Zheng roared. The four symbols Venerable used his arms to support himself as he stood up. Even though his body was still covered by the net of light and the electric current seemed to want to penetrate through the stone and enter Tang Zheng's body, he could not care less. He only had one thought left, and that was to dismantle the mech, kill Xingfeng, and avenge Nana and the others. The Knight of Four Symbols opened his arms and hugged the mecha's head. He used all his strength to try and tear the head off. A sharp cracking sound could be clearly heard coming from the neck. Roar! The mech roared, and its long tail lashed out like a whip, hitting the four symbols from the air. The four symbols was hit by a huge force, and it rolled a circle before coming to a stop. However, because of this roll, the net of light fell to the ground. Huang Xiang and Xiao Bai were freed, and Xiao Bai immediately spat fire at the mech. The mech opened its mouth, and a ball of fire rushed out. The mech could spit fire as well, and the two balls of fire collided, lighting up the area as bright as day. Boom! The two balls of fire exploded in the air, and a black cloud rose. The mecha's long tail pierced through the black cloud and came down from the sky, stabbing directly at the four symbols' chest. Screech tilde the tip of the tail was very sharp, like a large drill. It spun rapidly, spinning viciously at the four symbols' chest, as if it wanted to drill through its body. Ah! Tang Zheng let out a scream. Without a doubt, this was the biggest crisis he had faced since obtaining the four symbols. The strength of this big guy's mech was far beyond Tang Zheng's expectations. This was the result of science and technology. After so many years of accumulation of science and technology, human society's strength had advanced by leaps and bounds, far beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Many of the technologies seen in movies were not imaginary, and could actually be successful, especially under the influence of certain external forces, which could quickly become reality. This mecha was a typical example. Nowadays, every country was researching mecha. Although the general public did not know about it, it was no secret to the national level. However, there were many key technical difficulties that had always troubled the researchers, so the mecha had yet to truly become a reality. But an unintentional incident had facilitated this great project. The appearance of the werewolves. Back then, during the martial arts tournament, the werewolf had been killed by Tang Zheng. The werewolf's corpse had been taken away by the military. After that, the researchers had carefully studied the werewolf. A werewolf's body didn't rely on its heart to provide energy. Instead, it relied on its inner core. The inner core contained a considerable amount of energy and was very stable. Thus, the researchers came up with a bold idea. Absorbing the energy from the dantian would solve the problem of not having enough energy to operate the mech. However, this idea was not as easy as it seemed. After countless experiments, they finally discovered that the werewolf's energy was still too weak to drive the mecha. Later, the beasts in the prehistoric heavenly tomb rushed out of the 100,000 mountains and were captured by the military. After taking out the inner cores of these stronger beasts and putting them into the mecha, it could already drive the mecha to do some simple actions, but it couldn't last long. Until the last time when the Flamebird was captured alive by the Dragon Group, the success of the mecha became a reality. The Flamebird's inner core was strong enough to drive the mecha completely. Moreover, after the inner core and the mecha combined, there was a miraculous reaction. The inner core was actually transforming the mecha bit by bit, and the mecha gradually gained its own consciousness. Of course, the mecha was still under the control of humans, but because it had its own consciousness, the mecha's combat power had a qualitative leap. This was the mecha's first appearance, and it was very amazing. Its combat power was actually on par with the four symbols' supremacy. Xingfeng saw this and was very happy. With such a killing machine, who would dare to go against him in the future? Even the powerful foreign forces were not his match. Xingfeng was an ambitious person. He fantasized about using the mecha to do many things of his dreams, and greater power was at his fingertips. Sparks flew from the four symbols' supremacy's chest, and a faint white dot appeared. Without a doubt, if the mecha continued to drill down, it would definitely become a coldness. Tang Zheng gritted his teeth and endured the pain. He grabbed the long tail with one hand and flung it with force. Whoosh! The mecha flew into the sky like a kite, piercing through the clouds and disappearing somewhere unknown. Looking up, the mecha had already disappeared, but Tang Zheng knew that the mecha would definitely not fall to its death from such a high altitude. Whoosh! A strong wind swept down from the sky, and the mecha's figure appeared again. This time, there were 2 additional wings on its back, flapping non-stop. F***ck, this guy actually has wings. Tang Zheng cursed. With a tap of his feet, the 4-symbol supremacy soared into the air and pounced on the mecha that was diving down. Boom! The 2 sides collided again, and the 4-symbol supremacy was sent flying with the mecha in its arms. It fell into a large river nearby, causing a huge splash. The 2 big guys fought back and forth in the river, turning the river into a mess. The river water was stirred up to the riverbank, and it was extremely intense. Everyone watched this scene in a daze. Without a doubt, this battle was more intense than any of the previous battles, and it was even more magnificent. The entire city of Ordinary Balance was shocked awake. The citizens looked at the huge creature in horror. The police had completely sealed off the area to ensure that no civilians were killed or injured in this battle. But there was no doubt that after this battle, many people would not want to stay in Ordinary Balance anymore. The city government officials were even more anxious. This was a completely secret operation, and even they, as parents and officials, could not interfere. They could only watch helplessly. This scene looked a little like the end of the world in a sci-fi blockbuster. The 4-symbol supremacist's fists continuously greeted the mecha's body, and the mecha's tail also mercilessly attacked the 4-symbol supremacist's body. Both sides were covered in injuries, and Tang Zheng's control of the 4-symbol supremacy was even more exhausting. He was running out of true chi, but the mecha's power was endless. Nana and the others are dead. I must avenge them. I can't fall. I need energy. I need endless energy. Tang Zheng shouted in his heart. Dragon Origin Pill. I can only rely on the Dragon Origin Pill now. Although there was a danger of exploding and dying from consuming the Dragon Origin Pill, he could not care less at this moment. He immediately stuffed a Dragon Origin Pill into his mouth. He had used the blood of the 5-clawed golden dragon to refine 10 Dragon Origin Pills. Ordinary Dragon Origin Pills were refined with the blood of a flood dragon, and their power was far inferior to Tang Zheng's 10 Dragon Origin Pills. However, he had already used 8 of these Dragon Origin Pills. Now that he had taken another one, there was only one left. As soon as the Dragon Origin Pill entered his mouth, it turned into a majestic energy and entered Tang Zheng's 8 extraordinary meridians. Ah! Tang Zheng shouted. His body was like a balloon that had been inflated, as if it was about to explode. Blue veins popped out on his forehead. He gritted his teeth and held on. His arms wrapped around the mecha's head, and the mecha's tail pierced the 4-symbol supremacy's back. However, he could not care less. He would rather die than let go. At most, we'll die together. Let's see who can outlast the other. A steady stream of energy rippled out from Tang Zheng's body. However, it did not disappear. Instead, it entered the 4-symbol supremacy's body. A green light spread out from the 4-symbol supremacy's body. The majestic energy in Tang Zheng's body seemed to have found a vent and quickly poured into the 4-symbol supremacy. Hey! What's going on? In the past, Tang Zheng needed to consume his true chi to control the 4-symbol supremacy in battle. However, his true chi would not merge with the 4-symbol supremacy's body. However, at this moment, the energy had completely merged with the 4-symbol supremacy. It was like a living being, and there seemed to be meridians in its body that could accommodate the energy. As expected of the guardian of the witch tribe. It has so many secrets. Tang Zheng's confidence increased greatly. The pain in his body decreased sharply, and his strength increased sharply. Die for me. Crack. The mecha's head was ripped off. The 4-symbol supremacy grabbed its tail and swung it with all its strength. Whoosh! The remains of the mecha flew out. No one knew where it went. Bang! The four symbols' supremacy jumped onto the riverbank and glared at Xingfeng. Xingfeng was dumbfounded. He was extremely shocked, as if he was scared out of his wits. He stood there without moving. The other members of the dragon group had similar expressions. They stared at Tang Zheng as if they had seen a ghost. Many people had already quietly retreated. Boom, boom, boom. The four symbols' supremacy took huge steps and approached Xingfeng. Xingfeng's face was pale. He retreated step by step. He smacked his lips but could not say a word. Go to hell! Tang Zheng roared and ran. The members of the dragon group in all directions no longer dared to resist. They threw away their helmets and armor and fled. A large empty space immediately opened up around Xingfeng. Only he, Tang Dahai, and Fang Shusha were left. The four symbols' supremacy grabbed at Xingfeng, determined to crush him into minced meat. However, the huge palm passed through Xingfeng's body, and he stood there unscathed. Tang Zheng was stunned. He stared at the three of them in a daze. Tang Zheng, you want to kill me? It's not that easy. Xingfeng spoke. Tang Zheng swept his palm over again. It passed through Xingfeng's body again, and the three of them flashed. 3D projection. Tang Zheng suddenly realized that the three of them were not real. They were just projections. No matter how powerful Tang Zheng was, he could not hurt them at all. This was because he was not here at all. Ah! Tang Zheng roared at the sky. The other party was too cunning. They had actually commanded from afar. They had played him. Xingfeng said fiercely, Tang Zheng, you destroyed my Vajra number 1. I will come for you. Just you wait. As for those two, they will both die. As soon as he finished speaking, his figure flickered and disappeared without a trace. Chapter 507. Tang Zheng was in a daze, as if all the strength in his body had been sucked out. With a plop he knelt on the ground, his face was pale and his lips were trembling. Brother! A tender voice sounded from behind him. Tang Zheng's whole body trembled, as if he had been electrocuted. He turned his head and looked at Lin Hu and the other three standing in front of him. His pupils could not help but widen. Weren't they crushed to death by him? So they didn't die. An enormous joy filled his heart as he hurriedly stood up and tightly hugged Nan Nan in his embrace, deeply afraid that she would leave him in the next second. It's good that you're all right. It's good that you're all right. He kept repeating. Nana stretched out her small hand and wiped his eyes, with a childish voice said, Brother, you're crying. I'm not crying, brother is happy, it's good that you're all right. Tang Zheng's tears turned into a smile, but his smile was somewhat bitter. Mother said that brave children should not cry, brother is so brave, you must not cry. Nana said seriously. Don't cry, don't cry. Tang Zheng took a deep breath, seeing that they were all safe and sound, his heart was relieved. The others also looked at him in panic. At that moment, they really thought that they would die. But suddenly, Gui Chen Sui became big and protected them under his hard shell, saving their lives. Tang Zheng, this dragon group is afraid of your strength. For the time being, they certainly won't dare to harm their lives. You don't have to worry too much, the most important thing is to find them. Mu Hongyang softly advised. But the key point is that the dragon group is very mysterious. Where their nest is, no one knows. Even if I want to save them, I don't know where to start. Tang Zheng said with a frown. This was Tang Zheng's weakness. Although he was strong, he was not well informed. If he had a good relationship with the Li Palace, he could get information from the Li Palace. But now Li Xiaotian was directly standing next to the dragon group. He was at his wit's end. Haha, others may not know the location of the dragon group's lair, but I do. Suddenly, a hearty laughter drifted over from afar. Tang Zheng was startled and immediately turned his head to look. In the darkness of the night, a few people strolled over. The one in the lead was a middle-aged man with a square face and wide ears. The middle-aged man looked around and clicked his tongue. The dragon group is really generous. They even made a mecha and displayed it in front of the world. Xingfeng is too willful. Tang Zheng was surprised that someone would criticize the dragon group so bluntly. Everyone who knew about the dragon group was fearful of this organization, but this person clearly did not place the dragon group in his eyes. Who are you? Tang Zheng asked in a deep voice. The middle-aged man waved his hand and said, Tang Zheng, you don't have to be so hostile towards me. We're not enemies, but friends. I don't know you, so how can we be friends? Hihi, we didn't know each other before, but don't we know each other now? The middle-aged man said disapprovingly. But I still don't know who you are. That's right. A friend should tell you everything that he knows. Let me introduce myself. I'm Xu Yingtian. The middle-aged man cupped his hands and said in a deep voice. Tang Zheng's face was filled with suspicion. He was sure that he had never heard of this name before. When Mu Hongyang heard this, her expression changed slightly and became very solemn. Looks like you don't know me, but Mu Hongyang beside you has obviously heard of my name. Xu Yingtian said with a smile that was not a smile. Tang Zheng was startled. He turned his head to look at Mu Hongyang. Her expression was serious as she said in a low voice, "He's the head of the National Security Bureau." National Security Bureau? Tang Zheng's brows furrowed even tighter. He had only seen this name in movies. He did not expect that it was not made up and was real. The other party was a government official. That meant that he was the same as the Dragon Group. How could he be friends with him? Are you messing with me? Tang Zheng said angrily. Don't misunderstand. I'm not messing with you. I really want to be friends with you. Xu Yingtian explained. But aren't you the same as the Dragon Group? Tang Zheng asked back. Xu Yingtian shook his head and said in disdain, being in the same group as Xingfeng is simply a disgrace. Huh? Tang Zheng narrowed his eyes in surprise. The other party couldn't be saying this on purpose to gain his trust, right? As if he saw Tang Zheng's doubts, Xu Yingtian continued, Xingfeng ignored the interests of the country for his own benefit. This kind of person is a traitor during wartime. Being in the same group as him will lower my status. Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyang looked at each other. Both of their eyes showed surprise. Mu Hongyang thoughtfully said, "It is said that Xu Yingtian was upright and outspoken when he was in charge of the National Security Bureau. He was very popular. So you're saying that he and Xingfeng are not on the same side?" Tang Zheng was skeptical. Mu Hongyang said, "I know a little about Xingfeng. His promotion record is quite beautiful, but many people are quite critical. They say that he is a villain who is unscrupulous. You know, on the first day he took office in the Dianan military division, he did not stay in the barracks. Instead, he went directly to the Long family mansion." Oh! Tang Zheng's eyes widened. This Xingfeng's way of doing things was really unexpected. Xingfeng is very clear that in order to gain a foothold in Dianan, he must establish a good relationship with the Long family, this local snake. Therefore, he has been very obedient to the old man in Dianan for all these years. Tang Zheng remembered that he met Long Shenyuan in Dianan to take revenge. At that time, he had just left the 100,000 mountains when he was found by Long Shenyuan. Maybe it was Xingfeng who tipped him off. This person was really sinister. As a soldier, he did not have the slightest bit of integrity. Instead, he flattered and curried favor. He was really sorry for the military uniform he was wearing. No wonder Xingfeng acted so unscrupulously after joining the Dragon Group. He has this kind of gene in his bones. Once he achieves the Tao, he will be arrogant. Tang Zheng suddenly realized. Since the National Security Bureau and the Dragon Group do not deal with each other, the enemy of the enemy is a friend. Why not join forces with the National Security Bureau to deal with the Dragon Group? Tang Zheng thought of a plan. The strength and development of the Dragon Group far exceeded Tang Zheng's expectations. The next time they met, he did not know what new weapons the other party would come up with. Moreover, the other party had an official status after all. If they really made a big fuss with the other party, it would not be good for the country. Tang Zheng was born and raised here. He still had a lot of feelings for this country. The National Security Bureau also represented an official status. Therefore, cooperating with the National Security Bureau to curb the growth of the Dragon Group was more beneficial than harmful for Tang Zheng. In addition, Tang Zheng did not know the location of the Dragon Group's nest. He could only passively take a beating. After joining forces with the National Security Bureau, he could take the initiative to attack. Seeing the two whispering, Xu Yingtian was not in a hurry to speak. Instead, he glanced at the others, especially at Xiao Bai and Gui Chen Sui for a long time. Xing Feng is the representative of a small group of people with ulterior motives. These people have ulterior motives. They do not give advice for the development of the country. They only think about their own interests. This kind of person is an absolute pest to our country. But these people are also in high positions. They are the backings of Xing Feng, which seriously threatens the security of the country. The National Security Bureau is to safeguard the security and interests of the country. These people are the enemies of the National Security Bureau. Xu Yingtian's words were loud and clear, sonorous and powerful. Tang Zheng knitted his brows and asked in a deep voice, "Your National Security Bureau is also an official status. Since you know about the existence of these pests, why did you turn a blind eye to them? Isn't this against the purpose of the National Security Bureau?" A bitter expression appeared on Xu Yingtian's face. He shook his head and sighed, "That may be the case. But our country is too big. If we don't pay attention to the method, these pests will fight to the death and drag the country that we have painstakingly built into a state of eternal damnation." Tang Zheng was stunned. He only considered his own gains and losses. But the other party considered the overall situation and had more scruples. "Could it be that you just let them do evil unscrupulously and do nothing?" Tang Zheng asked with indignation. "It's precisely because we won't turn a blind eye that I came to you. You must have seen the battle just now. Why didn't you show up? Could it be that you will turn a blind eye to my defeat or death?" Tang Zheng asked bitterly. Xu Yingtian was silent. Silence meant acquiescence. His thoughts were seen through by Tang Zheng. The atmosphere became heavy and awkward. "I don't deny your point. The National Security Bureau is choosing a partner, and this partner must prove their strength. If their strength is too weak, it won't be good for the National Security Bureau. On the contrary, it will ruin our overall plan," Xu Yingtian generously admitted. This open and above-board attitude was out of Tang Zheng's expectations. He couldn't help but have a good impression of him. However, Tang Zheng still didn't give the other a good face and said with a cold face, "So you're saying that I just proved my strength?" "Yes." Xu Yingtian nodded. "We have been paying attention to you since a long time ago. You have come step by step and truly exceeded many people's expectations. At least I am the one who was shocked. Then I have to thank you for thinking so highly of me. Thinking highly of you and looking down on you is what you earned. You used your strength to prove that you can become a partner of the National Security Bureau. That is enough. I can let you understand that cooperating with the National Security Bureau is beneficial to the country and also to yourself." Tang Zheng's thoughts flew as he carefully considered these words. After a long time, he said, "Let's not talk about the cooperation for now. I am only interested in rescuing my grandfather and Shusha. Everything else is off the table." Xu Yingtian didn't mind and said with a smile, "Your attitude towards your family is enough to prove that you are a person who values friendship and righteousness. This is something that I admire. I don't like to cooperate with a cold and heartless person. In order to show my sincerity, the National Security Bureau will fully cooperate with you in this rescue. Then first tell me where the Dragon Group's base is." Tang Zheng asked. "In the vast desert in the west, your family is being held there." "In the desert?" Tang Zheng was shocked. If the other didn't tell him, then it would be really difficult for him to find it. Even if he now knew that it was in the desert, it was still the largest desert in the country. Even in the world, it was ranked first. If he were to look for it himself, it would be like looking for a needle in a haystack. Chapter 508. A military aircraft swept across the sky and flew towards the desert in the western part of Huaxia. The desert stretched as far as the eye could see and was filled with yellow sand. It was like an ocean of sand. Tang Zheng looked down at the desert. It was boundless and reflected the sun's rays. Grandpa and She were locked up in a secret base below. This base was a research and development base for the military. Many secret weapons were developed here. For example, the nuclear bomb was successfully tested and detonated in this desert, shocking the world. The Mecca this time was no exception. All the research and development training was carried out in this deserted desert, so it would not be discovered by the outside world. Xu Yingtian looked at the excited Tang Zheng and patted his shoulder, warning him, even though the dragon group has only been established for a short period of time, they have used a lot of resources, so their development is rapid and the amount of energy they have accumulated is hard to imagine. Even if you are strong enough, you cannot be careless when entering their base to save people. Understood. Although the National Security Bureau and the Dragon Group are not on good terms, but after all, they are related departments of the country. We can't directly attack each other. This time, we can only rely on external support. The specific rescue operation will depend on you. Xu Yingtian said. As long as we find the base of the Dragon Group, I will take care of the rest. Tang Zheng was full of confidence. Greater than or equal to Xu Yingtian smiled and shouted, "Open the cabin and jump." Tang Zheng and Huang Xiang put on their parachutes and jumped out of the cabin. He immediately did a free fall and fell rapidly. The desert was getting closer and closer. Peng! The two opened the parachute. The parachute lifted their body and flew up for a while. Then they slowly fell and landed in the desert. The landing point was more than 10 kilometers away from the base of the Dragon Group. For ordinary people, this distance was life and death. But for these two people, it was like walking on flat ground. Xiao Bai and Gui Chen Sui were lying on Tang Zheng's shoulders. This time, Tang Zheng brought all the available forces around him. Looking at the target red dot on the navigation device in their hands, the few of them moved as fast as lightning, heading straight for the target. From thousands of miles up in the sky, one could see that they were like two tornadoes blowing across the desert, sweeping up two huge clouds of yellow sand. Stop! Tang Zheng raised his palm and stopped in his tracks with Huang Xiang. His eyes narrowed into a thin line. The desert in front of him was no different from the rest of the desert. It reflected the light of the sun and was somewhat dazzling. However, this was the periphery of the base, and there were all kinds of surveillance equipment. They had to be careful to avoid triggering the alarm. Tang Zheng didn't know if what Xingfeng said was true or not. Although they had some friendship, people changed. Maybe Xingfeng and Xingfeng were of the same mind. Cut the crap. Where are my family members? Tang Zheng asked sternly. They are locked up in this base. Take me to them. Also, where is Xingfeng? Xingfeng left the base early in the morning. His whereabouts are mysterious, so even I don't know. Cai Guibin replied. You're his adjutant. How can you not know his whereabouts? Tang Zheng questioned. He had already made up his mind to find Xingfeng and pull out this annoying nail. Otherwise, his family members would never have a day of peace. Whether you believe me or not is up to you. Even though I am his adjutant, he does not trust me. This time, he purposely hid the mission from me because he was afraid that I would leak information to you. Cai Guibin said in a natural and unrestrained manner. Tang Zheng looked at him suspiciously. He was unable to tell if Xingfeng was telling the truth or not. No matter what you say, you're a member of the Dragon Group. That means you're my enemy. Don't think that I'll believe you. Take me to see my family right now. If you dare to play any tricks, I'll make sure you die a painful death. Tang Zheng said with killing intent. I've never approved of capturing your family members. This is the action of a coward. It's not the style of a soldier. Soldiers pay attention to fighting fair and square. If you only know how to play these little tricks, then you'll be despised. Cai Guibin said. But in the end, my family members were captured by your Dragon Group. Tang Zheng remained unmoved. Cai Guibin sighed and said, although I'm the second in command of the Dragon Group is controlled by Xingfeng. Everything is decided by him. My opinion is only for reference. Tang Zheng jokingly said, then isn't your position as the second in command too sullen? I won't be able to sit in this position for long. Xingfeng is already thinking of ways to get rid of me. Cai Guibin said self-deprecatingly. When the Dragon Group was first established, Cai Guibin had a lot of valuable experience to refer to. But as the Dragon Group grew stronger day by day, Xingfeng could no longer tolerate this adjutant who didn't get along with him. He needed an adjutant who was of the same mind as him. From there, He could turn the dragon group into a powerful force in his hands. Because of this, Cai Guibin didn't say anything to Tang Zheng. His current position was incomparably awkward. He indeed wouldn't be able to hold on for long. Tang Zheng half believed and half doubtfully said, "No matter what you say, I won't believe you. I only want to save people. Quickly take me there. I'll warn you again. Don't play any tricks." Cai Guibin said, "Relax, I definitely won't play any tricks. Your family members are only commoners. They shouldn't have been involved in this matter. But I still have to give you a word of advice. Xing Feng is a person who won't give up until he reaches his goal. He covets the life-continuing pill in your hands. If he doesn't get it, then he won't give up. You tell him to give up. Don't even think about touching the life-continuing pill. I'll give it to anyone, but definitely not him," Tang Zheng decisively said. The two people walked out of the washroom. Tang Zheng returned to his invisible state and followed behind Cai Guibin with Huang Xiang. Although Cai Guibin couldn't see Tang Zheng, he knew that he was behind him. So he didn't act rashly and directly went to a heavily guarded room. Two people stood at the door and extended their hands to block Cai Guibin. "Deputy Group Leader, please wait." Cai Guibin's face sunk as he rudely asked, "What, can't I enter this place?" Group Leader said that without his orders, no one is allowed to enter. The other side refused to budge an inch. Cai Guibin flew into a rage. "Nonsense, I am the Dragon Group's Deputy Group Leader. Why do I need his orders? Get out of my way." The two people looked at each other in dismay. They were somewhat uncertain and hesitant. Cai Guibin's hair stood up in anger as he directly pushed the two people aside and said, "If you want to stop me, then do it. I want to see if Xing Feng can really cover the sky with one hand." The other side clearly didn't expect that the normally amiable Cai Guibin would be so unyielding and angry. After all, Cai Guibin's rank was too high. If he really got angry, the two people would still feel uneasy. They helplessly moved aside and watched as Cai Guibin pushed open the door and walked in. The space behind the door wasn't big, but there was plenty of light. Two familiar figures jumped into Tang Zheng's eyes. He was pleasantly surprised as he directly rushed over. "Grandfather, Shisha." Tang Dahai and Fang Shisha were both handcuffed and shackled. Their expressions were dispirited. After Tang Dahai took the life-continuing pill, his complexion was originally rosy and healthy. But at this moment, it was as if he was seriously ill. Fang Shisha's beautiful face was also filled with exhaustion. She had lost a trace of her beauty and was both mentally and physically exhausted. When they heard Tang Zheng's voice, the two people raised their heads at the same time. They were both surprised and happy to see Tang Zheng's figure appear. "Little Zheng, Tang Zheng." The two shouted out in surprise. But in the next moment, Tang Dahai's expression changed as he said in a panic, "Little Zheng, how did you get caught by them? Didn't I tell you to quickly run? Why didn't you listen to me?" Fang Shisha was more familiar with Tang Zheng's strength and knew that he definitely wasn't caught. She was bewildered as she asked, "You came to save us?" "I'll immediately save you guys." Tang Zheng tore off the shackles, allowing the two people to regain their freedom. "Grandfather, Shisha, you guys have suffered." Seeing their tired appearance, Tang Zheng's nose turned sour. "Foolish child, how can you be so foolish?" "Ari." Tang Dahai sighed. "Grandfather, don't worry. I will definitely save you guys safely. In the future, no one will be able to harm you," Tang Zheng said resolutely. In his heart, he secretly swore that whoever dared to touch his family would be sentenced to death. No matter who the other party was, no matter where they were, Tang Zheng would definitely take the other party's head. "Don't dawdle. Let's quickly leave this place," Cai Guibin urged. Tang Zheng looked deeply at Cai Guibin. At this moment, he finally believed in Cai Guibin a little. He and Xing Feng were indeed not the same kind of people. "Let's go." Tang Zheng was just about to use an illusion technique on Tang Dahai and Fang Shisha to make them invisible when he heard a peng sound as the door was pushed open. "Hee, wonderful. Tang Zheng, I guessed that you would find a way to come to this base, so I've been waiting here for many days." A person clapped her hands and stood at the door, smiling as she looked at them. Tang Zheng's pupils shrank as he fiercely stared at the other party. His eyes were about to spit out fire as he gnashed his teeth and said, "Li Xiaotian, it's you again. Last time on the plane, it was also her. This time, it was her again." Obviously, she was already in cahoots with Xingfeng. Ever since Li Xiaotian had the intention to kill Tang Zheng, she persevered in wanting to take his life. She didn't even hesitate to wallow in the mire with Xingfeng. This woman was not only two-faced, but also vicious and merciless. Now, Tang Zheng felt that the previously rather annoying martial artist was more amiable than Li Xiaotian. This woman's thoughts were too deep. It was simply impossible to guess. At this moment, she was smiling at you, but in the next moment, she could stab you with a knife. At this moment, he really wanted to kill Li Xiaotian. Even if the other party was the holy maiden of Li Palace, Tang Zheng still decided to get rid of her. Even if it meant incurring the revenge of Li Palace, he still didn't care. "Hehe, Tang Zheng, I said that I would kill you. If I don't achieve my goal, how could I give up? Xingfeng is too stupid. He always thought that this place was impregnable and that you wouldn't be able to find it, much less enter." Li Xiaotian was immensely proud. Chapter 510. Do you think you can stop me? Tang Zheng was not intimidated as he walked straight towards Li Xiaotian with a murderous aura. He wanted to kill her. Li Xiaotian did not retreat. The corners of his mouth rose into a beautiful arc as he said indifferently, "Of course." Tang Zheng had yet to figure out where his confidence came from when the ground beneath his feet shook violently. The floor disappeared and a huge black hole appeared beneath his feet. Other than Li Xiaotian at the door, everyone else's feet were suspended in the air as they fell rapidly. Tang Zheng cried out in alarm as he rushed towards the door. Li Xiaotian did not move at all. Even the smile on his face did not decrease in the slightest. Boom! 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 Numerous gun muzzles appeared on the roof and fired at them. A rain of bullets filled the sky as they shot towards them. Tang Zheng cried out in alarm. His grandfather was an ordinary person. How could he block this rain of bullets? He grabbed onto his grandfather but was unable to avoid falling. After missing this opportunity, they had already fallen several hundred meters. Moreover, they had nowhere to grab onto. Even if they had great abilities, they were helpless. Li Xiaotian stood at the entrance of the hole and waved at the people who had already disappeared. He said with a smile, "Tang Zheng, farewell." Bang! Darkness surrounded them in all directions. This black hole seemed to have no end. They had already fallen, who knew how far. "Is everyone all right?" "Tang Zheng, I'm fine." Fang Shusha hurriedly said, "Where are we falling?" Tang Zheng did not know the answer either. Cai Guibin sighed and said, "I really did not expect this to be a trap. The other party really put in a lot of effort. I have never heard of such a black hole trap." Tang Zheng finally believed Cai Guibin. He was an abandoned pawn by Xingfeng. From now on, the dragon group was in Xingfeng's pocket. There was no one else who disagreed. "Don't be discouraged, everyone. We're not dead yet, so there's still a chance." Tang Zheng pretended to be calm and tried to persuade them. Tang Dahai was in a daze as he choked with sobs and said, "Little Zheng, this is all grandfather's fault. If not for saving me, you would not have fallen into this trap. Grandpa, it's not your fault. For you, I'm willing to give up my life. Don't worry. As long as I'm here, I'll definitely find a way to ensure everyone's safety." Tang Zheng knew that this time, the odds were against him, but he still tried to comfort him. A glimmer of light appeared below. Tang Zheng was overjoyed and said, "We've reached the end." But when he saw the scene below clearly, he was so scared that his whole body turned cold. He shouted, "Not good, there's molten lava below." This black hole actually led to the underground magma. No wonder Li Xiaotian was so confident. Even if an expert of the Grandmaster realm fell into the molten magma, they would turn into nothing, not even their bones would be left. What should he do now? With so many people falling down, there was no doubt that they would die. Squeak squeak. Just as he was still in a state of shock, Xiao Bai suddenly cried out, and happily rushed towards the magma, as if he was a wanderer returning home from home. Tang Zheng's heart moved, and he was overjoyed. That's right, how could I forget about that? Back then, didn't Xiao Bai hatch in the magma? Magma is terrifying to others, but to it, it's like water to a fish. The heavens have not abandoned me. I'm afraid that Li Xiaotian would never have dreamed that his Xiao Bai would be so miraculous, able to completely resist the magma. Xiao Bai rushed into the magma first, as if he was diving. He suddenly dived in and disappeared without a trace. The others did not know what was going on, and cried out in alarm, Did it melt? Everyone, don't worry. We're saved. Tang Zheng hurriedly comforted them. As soon as his voice fell, Xiao Bai's figure rushed out of the magma, splashing a fiery red spray. Xiao Bai, quickly think of a way to save us. Seeing that they were about to fall into the magma, they could already feel the hot air waves. Xiao Bai cried out, opened his small mouth, and suddenly sucked. The fiery red magma turned into a thin line, and quickly flew into his mouth. In an instant, the magma fell a long distance, but Xiao Bai was still tirelessly attracting the magma. His small belly gradually bulged, but he looked like he was enjoying it very much. Gui Chen Sui, become bigger, carry everyone. Everyone's falling speed was very amazing. Even if they could safely land later, this speed was enough to crush everyone. Gui Chen Sui's defense was the strongest, so Tang Zheng pinned his hopes on him. Gui Chen Sui quickly became bigger, and several people immediately lay down on Gui Chen Sui's turtle shell, falling rapidly. The fiery red light gradually faded, and the magma quickly decreased at a speed visible to the naked eye. Xiao Bai's belly became rounder and rounder, his eyes became brighter, and his snow-white hair emitted a trace of red light. Whoosh! When Xiao Bai finally sucked the last bit of rolling magma into his stomach, he turned into a small ball and fell to the ground. He tried to kick a few times, but he could not get up. Bang! With a loud sound, Gui Chen Sui hit the ground, and rocks flew. The huge impact made Gui Chen Sui bounce a bit before he finally landed on the ground. Everyone was lying on the turtle shell, but they still suffered a lot of impact. Fortunately, it was not life-threatening, so they were temporarily relieved. Gui Chen Sui, how are you? Tang Zheng asked with concern. Shangxian, don't worry. I'm fine. Gui Chen Sui said. Tang Zheng nodded, and helped his grandfather and Shusha jump down from the turtle shell. When his legs stood on the ground again, he felt so warm and steady. Cai Gui Bin also jumped down. The light around was very dim, and the walls were still glowing red, so it was not completely dark. Xiao Bai. Tang Zheng saw Xiao Bai lying on the ground with his feet in the air, and quickly rushed over to pick him up. But he could not help but cry out in pain, and almost threw him away. It was hot all over, like a flame. Seeing that its eyes were brimming with energy, Tang Zheng finally relaxed. It was obvious that it was fine. Xiao Bai, thank you. This time, if it was not for Xiao Bai, everyone would have died. It deserved this thank you. Squeak squeak. Xiao Bai proudly blinked, as if saying you're welcome. It looked very cute. Putting down Xiao Bai and letting it digest the magma, Tang Zheng looked at the others. They were still in shock, and their expressions were not good. Especially the old man, whose face was pale. The experience of escaping from death made his old heart almost jump out of his throat. Where are we? Tang Dahai asked. Cai Gui Bin bitterly said, a few thousand meters underground. From the time they fell, they could roughly estimate how far they fell. How do we go up? Fang Shusha asked. Cai Gui Bin smiled bitterly, I can't climb up anyway. It depends on whether you have the ability. A few thousand meters is not impossible to climb up. Tang Zheng looked at the surrounding stone walls. The stone walls were very smooth. It was difficult for ordinary people, but if Tang Zheng wanted to climb up, it was not impossible. After surviving a great disaster, there will be good fortune. Everyone rest first, I will explore the way. Tang Zheng said and jumped up the stone wall. His 10 fingers were like knives as he grabbed a piece of rock and stabilized his body. He was like a spider, quickly climbing up the stone wall. After climbing a few hundred meters, there was no light at all. Little Zheng, be careful. Tang Dahai said with concern. Grandfather, I'm fine. Tang Zheng thought, and a ball of true fire jumped out from his fingertips, illuminating the surroundings. Ah! Tang Zheng was shocked. The scene in front of him was out of his expectations. There were 3 holes diagonally above him. Why are there 3 holes? When we fell down, we didn't feel that there were other holes. Tang Zheng was confused. Different holes must lead to different directions. If we go to the wrong hole, then it will be impossible to climb up. Originally, Tang Zheng thought that it was a straight path, so he was not too worried. However, the fact was that there was more than 1 hole, making it difficult to climb. 3 is 3, then I'll try one by one. Tang Zheng did not give up and prepared to enter one of the holes to explore. However, the corner of his eye glanced down and he found it difficult to move his gaze. F***ck, what the hell, why is there more than 1 hole down there? Chapter 5:11. When he reached the end, the light became even brighter, illuminating the black hole. It's not magma. Tang Zheng was stunned. In front of him was a spacious stone room with a clear spring in the middle of the room. The light of the water was faint, and the cool feeling was emitted by this clear spring. Why was there a clear spring here? Why was it so different from the other black holes? Tang Zheng was puzzled. He jumped down, and the sound of his landing echoed around him. Walking to the side of the spring, he could see his reflection on the surface. The water was so clear that he could see the bottom. There was a small stone the size of a thumb at the bottom of the spring. If it weren't for Tang Zheng's superior eyesight, he might have overlooked this stone. This place was full of mysteries and Tang Zheng would not let go of any clues, so he stretched out his hand and took out the stone. It was cold to the touch. It wasn't a stone, but a plant seed. There was a faint green light flowing around it. What is this thing? Tang Zheng had never seen this kind of thing before. He couldn't help but carefully examine it. But after looking at it for a long time, he still couldn't figure it out. Forget it, I'll put it away first. Tang Zheng didn't examine it. He put it away in his sumaru pouch and went back the way he came. It took him a lot of effort to find his companions in this interconnected cave. When he announced the location of the cave, everyone's expression changed. They knew their chances of escaping were slim. The heavens will always leave a way out. We'll find a way. Tang Zheng encouraged them. Luckily, he had stored a lot of food in his sumaru pouch, so he wouldn't starve for the time being. In the base, Li Xiaotian was sitting in front of a large video screen. He sat cross-legged and stared at Xingfeng. Saintus, Tang Zheng's death is a good thing, but the life-continuing pill also went with him. How can I report this to my superiors? Xingfeng's face was ashen as he suppressed his anger. Li Xiaotian was unmoved. He shrugged and said, "That's not my problem. We're partners. You've achieved your goal, but you've harmed my interests. How can this be? I only care about Tang Zheng's life and death. Only a commoner like you would care about the life-continuing pill. However, seeing how anxious you are, as a former business partner, I can give you a clear path." What, Minglu? We've already sold so many life-continuing pills, why don't we start with those people? Li Xiaotian asked with a smile that was not a smile. Perhaps some people would never have dreamt that Li Xiaotian's casual words would lead the trouble to them. Of the 10 life-continuing pills, 9 of them were sold to the 3 great clans, and the last one has already been impatiently consumed by the buyer. Don't tell me I have to snatch the last one from the 3 great clans. You are not afraid of the heavens or the earth. Feng Xinyang stroked her hair and said lovingly, "Ding dang, even if you really want to die with Tang Zheng, it is impossible because no one knows where those 2 people are. The dragon group is too mysterious. Outsiders have no way of knowing where they are." Yi Tianlei said helplessly, "Are we just going to sit here and wait for death?" The 2 of them were silent. This was also a helpless action. Yi Dingdang was extremely disappointed. She unwillingly stomped her feet and walked out in large strides. Song Yu and Chu Xiaofeng were currently toasting each other. The 2 of them had excited expressions. Chu Xiaofeng excitedly said, "Tang Zheng, that brat is really courting death. He provoked the big guy of the dragon group. Now he is not far from death. Tang Zheng has disappeared. Maybe he has already been secretly eliminated by the dragon group. Song Yu said with a smile. Haha, that's even better. In any case, he's no longer a concern. Chu Xiaofeng said proudly. Dragon Elephant Mountain, Yang family. Yang Potian, Yang Chishan and Yang Liuyun had already gathered together. The expressions of the 3 generations of grandfather and grandson were not good, as the matter this time had far exceeded their expectations. Father, can Tang Zheng survive this crisis? Yang Chishan asked. Yang Potian squinted his eyes, remaining calm and collected, as if he did not hear anything. Yang Chishan and Yang Liuyun looked at each other helplessly, and fell into silence. Dong dong dong. A burst of clear footsteps sounded out. Yang Potian suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Yang Qingyi. Yang Qingyi shook her head at her father and said, Father, the heavens are unpredictable. I am not confident that Tang Zheng will be able to survive this time. The corner of Yang Potian's mouth twitched. Qingyi, didn't you say that Tang Zheng will become the person who will turn the tide in the future? Why do you say that the heavens are unpredictable? Yang Chishan could not help but ask. Yang Qingyi said indifferently, I don't know what Tang Zheng encountered this time, but my predictions have deviated greatly. Even the things that I predicted in the past have become illusory. You're saying that Tang Zheng might not be the one to turn the tide? Yang Qingyi fell into silence, which could be considered as tacit agreement. Could it be that he encountered something big this time, and even the heavenly secrets have changed? Yang Potian asked suspiciously. I don't know either. Yang Qingyi said. This was something that she had never encountered before. In the past, the things that she had predicted would not change, but this time, it had become illusory, causing her to doubt her own prediction skills for the first time. Chapter 512. Xing Feng brought a group of people in and arrogantly looked at the 4 people in the hall. He did not have the reverence that the others had towards the Yang family. Yang Potian's pupils constricted slightly as he stared fixedly at Xing Feng. Of course he recognized this fierce person who had recently risen to prominence. Group leader Xing, what brings you here? Yang Potian went straight to the point. The Dragon Elephant Mountain has a myriad of phenomena. Yang family is entrenched here. What a grand occasion. Xing Feng said without answering the question. This is all the foundation that my ancestors laid down with a blade and a spear. Xing Feng smiled without batting an eyelid, and finally got to the point. I heard that the Yang family obtained a few life-continuing pills. I wonder if you can part with them? Yang Potian's heart trembled. The other party was actually here for the life-continuing pill. The principle of possessing a jade ring is truly not wrong. However, the Yang family was not an ordinary family. How could they hand over such a precious thing just based on a few words from the other party? The life-continuing pill was obtained by Liu Yun. If group leader Xing has taken a fancy to it, then I can sell it to you. Yang Potian did not directly refuse. However, this could already be considered a disguised rejection, because Yang Potian knew very well that Xing Feng would definitely not spend this money. Sure enough, Xing Feng frowned and said, I'm not going to spend money. Yang Potian sneered, then I can't help you. I don't want this life-continuing pill, but the people above. If you don't give it to me, you know very well what the consequences will be. Xing Feng pointed up and said. This was already a form of coercion and enticement. Yang Potian had seen too many people who relied on their power to bully others in his life. Ever since he got older, Xing Feng was the first person who dared to do so. Yang family's money is earned bit by the people below. If I were to waste it like this, then I would be poked at behind my back. My life is coming to an end, and I don't want to be cursed like this. Yang Potian had already expressed his attitude. However, Xing Feng did not plan to stop here. He said with a fake smile, then this will bring a lot of trouble to the Yang family. I have lived for so many years. I have many fears, but I am not afraid of trouble. Yang Potian said in opposition. Xing Feng did not expect that his opponent would not give him any face at all. His face gradually turned ashen as he said, then don't blame me for being merciless. As you wish. Xing Feng snorted and turned to leave. Seeing his figure disappear at the door, the few of them didn't look too good. Yang Chishan worriedly said, "Father, Xingfeng's forces are very strong. If we reject him like this, we will attract a lot of trouble. The Yang family has even rejected the Li Palace, so why would they kowtow to the dragon group?" When Yang Chishan heard this, he couldn't say anything more. "Pass down the order. Tell the people below to pay attention to the slightest sign of trouble," Yang Chishan said again. They accepted the order. Although the news of the ordinary balance battle had been blocked from the public, this news still grew wings and traveled across the sea, reaching the ears of various countries. The Atlantic Empire and the island nation were among the first countries to know of this news. Hua Xia's rise in power in the past few years was too rapid and eye-catching. Naturally, it was the focus of attention of many forces. This time, the appearance of the King Kong #1 was truly dazzling. The other countries' projects were all in a state of stagnation, but Hua Xia was the first to succeed. How could this be? Immediately, many spies sneaked into Hua Xia to secretly inquire about the details. In the magnificent castle of the Rockefeller family, Louis stood respectfully in the middle of the hall, facing the elders of the family. The person in the middle was the head of the Rockefeller family, Louis's father. His facial features were somewhat similar to Louis's, and his voice was deep and dignified. "Louis, the last time you went to Hua Xia, you did bring back a lot of news, but there was not a word about the Mecca. This is your dereliction of duty, understand?" Louis bowed his head and said respectfully, "Yes, but my descent plan has been implemented to the final stage. I can give Hua Xia the heaviest blow. Even if they have mechas, I can let them have a taste of the annihilation of a country. This plan is really good. Use the lives and blood of Hua Xia people to open the mountain river blood sacrifice array and let the demon race descend. This will bring disaster to the people of Hua Xia. When the cultivators were expelled, the demon race will definitely hold a grudge and will definitely attack Hua Xia. We can reap the benefits," the head of the Rockefeller family praised. Louis added, "When the demon race descends, I will form an alliance with them. When they first come to this world, they are at their weakest. With our help, they will get twice the result with half the effort. They will definitely not refuse our kindness. Even so, we can't take it lightly. The secrets of the Mecca must be obtained because this is our weapon to restrain the demon race in the future. Yes, our intelligence personnel have already infiltrated Hua Xia. The Hua Xia people are a people with obvious bad habits. There is a saying that is very popular in their country that money makes the world go round. We will open the way with money, and it will be successful. We will definitely get the secrets of the Mecca." Louis was full of confidence. In addition, why is there no movement from the 100 Faces Star-Lord you mentioned? Is he really going to hide in the 100,000 mountains? This is indeed very strange. Although he escaped, he did not leave the 100,000 mountains, and the fate of the demon god is unknown. But father, don't worry, I have sent people to keep an eye on the 100,000 mountains. As long as they come out, we will know. It's best if the 100 Faces Star-Lord starts a massacre and muddies the waters even more. Only then will we be able to fish in troubled waters. I hope so, haha. Only complacent and high-pitched laughter remained in the hall. Yellow sand filled the sky, and the red sun hung high in the sky. Two figures flashed across the yellow sand, leaving only shallow footprints. The two of them were like a gust of wind, like a torrential rain, advancing forward courageously. Not long after, the two of them stopped on top of a patch of yellow sand. "This is it?" Lan Yu asked. Wu nodded. "It's right under our feet, but I don't know how to enter." The corner of Lan Yu's mouth curled up as he smiled and said, "Since we've found our target, it's easy to enter." As soon as he finished speaking, his foot landed. With a muffled sound, the yellow sand flew up from the ground, as if it had escaped the effects of gravity and soared into the air. With the place where her foot landed as a dot, in the blink of an eye, a huge circle was formed, and the yellow sand within it completely flew into the sky. The endless yellow sand made the azure sky turn yellow as well, creating a great scene. However, Lan Yu remained calm and collected, as if he had done nothing. Wu's eyelids twitched. She had always known that her master's wife was a martial artist, but she had never known her true cultivation. Now that she saw her make a move, She couldn't help but be shocked by this scene. A huge metal dome appeared beneath their feet. With a catcher sound, the dome opened automatically. A group of people rushed out, glaring angrily as they shouted, "Who are you? How dare you trespass into our base? We're looking for someone." Wu said. "Since you've come, then don't even think about leaving. The leader has ordered that anyone who dares to trespass into the base will be killed without mercy." The other party was aggressive. Ka. The sound of gun bolts being pulled rose and fell. Lan Yu's face was full of smiles, without the slightest trace of fear, and asked, "Has Tang Zheng been here before?" Bang bang bang, the sound of gunshots answered her. Wu was about to take action and block the bullets for his master's wife, but he saw Lan Yu lightly point her finger, and the yellow sand that filled the sky fell down. The bullets were completely blocked by the yellow sand and fell to the ground. As she pointed her finger, the falling yellow sand in front of her flew out, one turned into two, two turned into four, and in an instant, the yellow sand completely scattered, turning into millions of fine sand. Puff puff puff. The fine sand pierced through the opponent's chest. Chapter 513. King Kong No. 2 was the upgraded version of King Kong No. 1 and had been equipped with many weapon systems. A huge revolving gun was aimed at Lan Yu and Marshall. Da. The muzzle of the gun turned, and the bullets poured out like water, shooting toward the two people. The moment the gun turned, the two of them jumped to the side. Lan Yu leaped and jumped onto Warrior No. 2's arm. The bullets couldn't hurt her at all. King Kong No. 2 turned its head and stared at the enemy on its arm. With a Ka sound, a black cannon barrel suddenly appeared on its shoulder. Boom! A cannonball shot towards Lan Yu. Lan Yu's figure was like a willow catkin as she lightly dodged and floated onto King Kong No. 2's shoulder. A pair of slender hands grabbed onto the cannon barrel. Bang! The cannon barrel was directly pulled away. With a flash of light, the cannon barrel in Lan Yu's hand was like a crutch as it ruthlessly smashed towards King Kong No. 2's head. King Kong No. 2's huge head tilted and sparks flew everywhere. Its huge body swayed and almost fell backwards. King Kong No. 2's fighting strength was originally not limited to this, but because this space was not big, it was restricted. Lan Yu was originally strong and relied on her nimble movements, which was why King Kong No. 2 was so passive. Lan Yu's face was calm, but the calmer it was, the more terrifying it was. "Hand over Tang Zheng or I'll tear this big guy apart," Lan Yu said. "Tang Zheng is already dead. If you want to find him, go to the underworld," someone shouted. Lan Yu's expression finally changed when she heard this. She gradually became gloomy, as if a layer of frost had formed on the surface of a calm lake. "You guys killed him?" "Yes. To go against the dragon group, you will die without a burial ground. You dare to kill him?" Lan Yu's brows gradually revealed a killing intent that was as cold as a steel blade. "Impossible. How could you possibly kill Tang Zheng?" Marshall's heart felt empty for no reason as he shouted in panic. If you don't believe it, go to the underworld and reunite with him. Then you will naturally believe it. The dragon group was aggressive. King Kong No. 2, kill the two of them. Roar. Varja No. 2 let out an angry roar and got down on all fours. With a sudden swing of its body, it threw Lan Yu off. Then, it bent its front legs slightly and kicked off its hind legs, pouncing towards Lan Yu. Lan Yu didn't retreat or dodge. She slowly raised her arm. Compared to Varja No. 2's huge body, her arm was like a small stone compared to a giant rock. However, her aura was not weak in the slightest. She stood firmly in place, like a sea-stabilizing needle in the sea, unmoving. She raised her arms to her chest as Varja No. 2 pounced in front of her. In the next second, she felt as if she would be bitten into pieces by that huge mouth. Everyone's eyes were fixed on her. The members of the dragon group were delighted. The black hole was like a bloody mouth that devoured people, causing people to feel fear. Lan Yu stopped for a long time. Her eyes gradually dimmed. She faintly sighed and turned around to leave. Marshall hurriedly chased after her and asked, "Mistress, is there really no hope? That hole is so deep that I can't see the bottom. I don't know where it leads to. Even if I were to fall in, I would still die without a doubt, let alone him. Lan Yu said listlessly. Then if we can't find him, how can we prove his identity? I'm going to ask your master. He should have a definite answer. If he really is my child, I will come here again. At that time, it won't be just a Mecca, but the entire base, and these people will be buried with my child. His tone was cold and murderous. Just hearing it would make people tremble in fear. Fortunately, her voice was not loud and the others were hiding far away from her. Otherwise, they would have been even more frightened when they heard this. He couldn't help but recall the bits and pieces of his acquaintance with Tang Zheng. Especially the skin-to-skin relationship in the 10,000 huge mountains, it was even more deeply etched in his memory. Back then, although she tried her best to forget that matter, it was like a nightmare that was deeply imprinted in her mind. It would appear from time to time. After all, she was a girl. Of course, she would remember the first time in her life. No matter how hard she tried, it was impossible for her to forget. On the contrary, the more she wanted to forget, the clearer she would remember. Now that he was dead, she should have been happy. After all, she used to wish that she could eat Tang Zheng alive. However, she found that she was not happy at all. She was listless, as if all the strength in her body had been sucked away. She left with her mistress like a walking corpse. Seeing the two figures swagger and disappear into the vast desert, the dragon group seemed to have awoken from a dream and was completely boiling with excitement. When Xingfeng, who was far away in the capital, heard this news, he was so angry that he spat out a large mouthful of blood. When he found out Wu's identity, he was unable to restrain his anger, and wished that he could immediately find the martial sect to get back at him. However, he was already past the age of impulsiveness. In the blink of an eye, he gradually suppressed his anger and turned his attention to another person. He had searched through all kinds of information, but there was no information about this person. This made him very frightened. Such a heaven-defying expert was actually wandering under the information of the dragon group. This made him feel a deep sense of fear. However, he was sure that the other party was from the martial sect. This made him feel even more mysterious and powerful. Originally, he was full of confidence that he could contend against the three great organizations and even pull them down from their divine altar. But now, he realized that his thoughts were too naive. Although the dragon group relied on its powerful resources and scientific and technological strength to allow its overall strength to soar, it was still a short time after all. If it wanted to contend against a deep-rooted organization like the three great organizations, it was still quite a distance away. No wonder after Li Xiaotian saw the strength of the dragon group, she did not feel the slightest bit of fear towards Xingfeng. Instead, she wanted to leave and did not have the slightest bit of reluctance, because she had this kind of strong confidence, firmly believing that the dragon group was not a match for the Li Palace. Thus, from the beginning to the end, she had only used the dragon group and did not truly put the dragon group in her eyes. The reverence she usually showed was all an act. Xingfeng immediately felt a deep sense of powerlessness and humiliation, but this feeling did not last long before it turned into another kind of belief. He urgently hoped that the dragon group's strength would rise to another level and suppress the three great organizations. He wanted this proud, mysterious organization to be ruthlessly trampled by him and trampled under his feet. As soon as possible, increase the fighting strength of the other Vaja. Xingfeng gave the order. Furthermore, immediately carry out repairs to the base and increase the security. We absolutely cannot let outsiders take advantage of this opportunity. Ding-ling-ling. Suddenly, the red landline beside his seat rang. His heart trembled as he hurriedly calmed himself down. This number could only be called by a few people, and these people were his backing. However, just as he placed the phone beside his ear and listened to a few words, his face became extremely gloomy as he said in fear and trepidation, "Tang Zheng is indeed dead, but the life-continuing pill did not completely follow him. I will make a military pledge. Within 10 days, I will definitely deliver the life-continuing pill to you." Xingfeng's voice was sonorous and powerful, with some of the aura of a soldier. However, the seductive manner in his words was incompatible, completely lowering his imposing manner. After hanging up the phone, he took a deep breath and frowned. "The higher-ups are urging me for the life-continuing pill. If I am unable to take it out, then the position of the leader of the dragon group will be in jeopardy. Suddenly, a strong sense of crisis welled up in his heart, making him realize a serious problem. Although it seemed that he had great power now and had countless elite soldiers in his hands, all of this was given to him by the people above him. As long as the higher-ups said a word, all of this would be taken away and he would become a penniless fellow. No, I must firmly grasp the dragon group in my hands so that no one can take it away from me. If those old fogies can do whatever they want, why can't I, Xing Feng, do the same? His face was ruthless as he gritted his teeth. He silently made up his mind and many different thoughts appeared in his mind. Chapter 514. Once, twice, thrice, Tang Zheng could not remember how many times he had climbed up the wall of the cave, but every time, he would get lost. Fortunately, he had made marks along the way so that he could return the way he came. Several people stared at him with wide eyes, their eyes filled with anticipation. He was the second in command of the dragon group, sighed and said encouragingly, "There is always a way out." This feeling of abandonment made him feel at a loss. But those people are definitely still guarding the cave entrance. If you are interested, walking right into a trap, I can introduce you to another place. Tang Dahai's spirit had recovered quite a bit, but his eyebrows were still filled with worry. Not saying anything, there is no one who can stop us. He did not take it seriously. Tang Zheng firmly said, holes are innumerable, little Zheng, no matter how we climb, we will get lost. You are making an enemy of the country. Why not use a more violent method? If you go destroy out, all these where can you go? Then walk up step by step. Could it be that you are going to escape abroad and live your life as an exile? This was not a bad idea. Tang Dahai so he had everyone hide under Tang Zheng understood his grandfather's thoughts. With a thought, people from the last century, to summon the four symbols venerables. Most of them had a pure heart, and many times were even more important to the country than their own life. Suddenly, his eyes widened series of actions in the eyes of the old man. The four symbols venerables that were left in the Sumeru bag and were connected to each other, so he did not say it out loud. Unable to summon the four symbols venerables. He had to dispel his grandfather's worries, suppressing them, thus not letting them come out. Tang Zheng was not in a hurry to taste it, but instead sat down, had never encountered this kind of situation. I was raised by you since I was young. How could it be that there was a problem with the dragon group does not represent the country, just as he took out the food it is controlled by evil people with ulterior motives, harming the innocent. The food what I am doing is beneficial to the country and the people. Only the old man's venerables were affected. Tang Zheng's gaze turned and stared at He hurriedly voiced his doubts. Commander CAI also found it inconceivable. Am I really betraying the country by chin with one hand? CAI Gui Bin hesitated for a moment, her eyes lit up, lightly and she pointed around. Tang Dahai was extremely moved as he asked in bewilderment, venerables from appearing. He knew that CAI Gui Bin was a government official about this place, so he was especially interested in his words. Said suspiciously. CAI Gui did not feel the fluctuations of a formation here. The government officials are not all good the same as any other place. There are also parasites. There was no power and these that could restrain the all represent their own personal interests, ignoring the country's interests. This place is definitely not these people is indeed beneficial to the country and the people. Immediately, Tang Dahai truly let out a sigh of relief. Her words enlightened him. The heart that was originally in his throat finally returned to his stomach. He had only been focused on finding the way out, was a bit more and had overlooked the uniqueness of this landform. Some lingering fear. It was impossible for this kind of situation to occur in a natural landform would go down the wrong path. There might really be a way out among all these holes. Tang Zheng gratefully looked at CAI Gui Bin. I went to quite a few forks, and I found that the deepest part was magma, of his mouth hung and only the bottom of that hole had a clear spring. He was probably the only one present who felt the most desolate. He finally realized that he had overlooked an extremely serious problem, and hurriedly took out the seed. The green light swam around the surface of the seed, mysterious and beautiful. Everyone's attention was immediately drawn over, and they gathered together to carefully examine the seed. When they heard Tang Zheng's description, they felt even more amazed. This seed is definitely not simple, but what kind of seed is it? CAI Gui Bin muttered to himself. Captain CAI, I have a question. Why was the base built above this cave? There are hidden dangers here, aren't you afraid that the base will collapse? Tang Zheng noticed another suspicious point. CAI Gui Bin shook his head blankly. I only found out about this base after joining the clan's dragon group, so I don't know the answer to your question. In short, there's something strange about this place. Squeak squeak. Suddenly, Xiao Bai weakly called out. The little guy had swallowed too much magma, and it had turned into a round ball, lying on the ground, unable to move. Looking at its naive appearance, Tang Zheng couldn't help but laugh. He bent down and picked it up, patted its little head, and comforted it. Xiao Bai, in order to save us, you really worked hard this time. Xiao Bai, however, acted as if it didn't hear anything, and its pair of eyes stared blankly at the green seed. Xiao Bai, this is not delicious, you can't eat it. Tang Zheng had experienced the nature of the little guy's gluttonous nature, and hurriedly said. Xiao Bai was indifferent, and still stared at the seed in Tang Zheng's hand. Suddenly, Xiao Bai opened its mouth, and bit down on Tang Zheng's palm. Tang Zheng had never been on guard against Xiao Bai, and was suddenly bitten by the little guy's 2 rows of sharp teeth. The sharp teeth directly embedded into the palm, and blood immediately flowed out, dyeing the palm red. Seeing this, the others were shocked and shouted, Tang Zheng, quickly let it go, it's dangerous. Xiao Bai didn't let go, but looked at Xiao Bai in puzzlement. He and the little guy had been together for a long time, and Xiao Bai had helped him a lot, and even saved his life. He trusted Xiao Bai from the bottom of his heart, and didn't think that it would harm him, so even if it was painful, he endured and looked at it suspiciously. Xiao Bai took a bite and let go, still staring at the seed. The blood had already dyed the seed red, and a trace of red light lit up, enveloping the seed, and the crystal clear green color swam faster. The blood on Tang Zheng's palm was absorbed by the seed in an instant. Suddenly, Tang Zheng felt a burning pain in the palm of his hand, and quickly let go of his hand, and the seed immediately fell to the ground. Catcher! With a crisp cracking sound, the seed hit the ground and broke open, and a green light rushed out, and the whole cave was illuminated by the green light. Look, the seed has taken root and sprouted. Fang Shisha pointed to the ground and cheered. This is really amazing. The seed absorbed Tang Zheng's blood, and actually broke through the soil and took root, turning into a bean sprout-like seedling. Amazing, amazing. Tang Dahai and Cai Gui Bin couldn't help but exclaim. But immediately, Tang Zheng's exclamation also sounded, wow, what a strong vitality. In the past, when he was at the peak of ordinary Balance Mountain, and even in the 100,000 Great Mountains, he had seen much stronger spiritual energy than the outside world. Spiritual energy is the source of a cultivator's power, and Tian Chanzi once said that this world's spiritual energy has become very thin, so most people's cultivation will be very slow. The world's spiritual energy is less and less the more it is used, unlike oxygen which can be synthesized through photosynthesis. Therefore, later on, the cultivation environment left for cultivators will be worse. But what made Tang Zheng's heart beat fiercely was that the spiritual energy emitted by this little seedling was much denser than any other place he had seen before. It was simply a feeling that made it difficult for people to breathe. Fang Shisha took a deep breath, and her handsome face was also full of surprise, and said dumbstruck, this is spiritual energy. The two of them were too familiar with spiritual energy, and they used the spirit gathering pill to make up for the lack of spiritual energy, and then they accidentally obtained spirit stones, so they were more familiar with this kind of pure spiritual energy than ordinary cultivators. But whether it was the spirit gathering pill or the spirit stones, there was no way they could compare to the spiritual energy emitted by this little seedling. This was simply a spiritual energy fountain, continuously emitting outwards, and even Tang Dahai and Cai Guibin's spirits were shaken, as if they were a few years younger. The spiritual energy entered their 8 extraordinary meridians, and removed many of the impurities that had been left in their meridians over the years. To them, this was a kind of transformation of their bodies, and although the two of them didn't understand this point, they still felt refreshed and comfortable, and suddenly looked at Tang Zheng at the same time. Seeing Tang Zheng staring at the little seedling, they also fixed their eyes on the little seedling. Was all of this brought about by this little seedling? Before Tang Zheng could react, a cheerful voice sounded in his mind. Master, what a strong spiritual energy, Ling is too happy. This was naturally the 300-year-old ginseng, Ling At that time, she said that she would soon transform into a human, so Tang Zheng put her in his Sumeru pouch, but he didn't expect that this strong spiritual energy would penetrate the Sumeru pouch, and even Ling absorbed it. Ling laughter was like a burst of silver bells, crisp and pleasant to listen to. Chapter 5:15. Hearing that Linga was about to transform into a human, Tang Zheng hurriedly took her out of his sumaru pouch. In the flower pot, Linga was shining brightly, emitting a light green light. When the others heard that the ginseng was about to transform, they were all moved and stared at her. Hua hua hua, Linga's branches and leaves swayed back and forth, emitting a pleasing sound like a silver bell. Linga's giggles rang out incessantly, making people involuntarily feel her joy. Whoosh tilde, the spirit energy emitted by the sapling was quickly absorbed by Linga. The branches and leaves were full of green, tender and beautiful, and the light green light became brighter and brighter. Finally, with a flash of light, the cave was completely enveloped by the green light, so bright that people subconsciously closed their eyes. When they opened their eyes, everyone was dumbstruck. A charming person stood in front of them, wearing a long green dress. Her long hair fluttered in the wind, and her skin was whiter than snow. She was full of spirit energy from head to toe. "You are Linga?" Tang Zheng calmed down a little. He did not think that Linga would be so beautiful after transforming into a human. Linga delicately nodded, and directly hugged Tang Zheng's arm, happily saying, "Master, I am Linga." A pair of towering breasts rubbed against Tang Zheng's arm, making people restless. Tang Zheng dryly coughed twice, and without leaving a trace, pulled his hand out of her chest and said, "Linga, congratulations. All of this is Master's credit. If not for following Master, Linga would not have this kind of opportunity." Linga charmingly said, "You are really Linga. How did you become such a beautiful girl?" Tang Dahai felt that all of this was like a dream. It was hard to believe. Linga bounced in front of the old man, and cheerfully said, "Grandfather, Linga can help you do things in the future. You don't have to work so hard at home." Tang Dahai beamed as he stroked her hair and said, "Good girl." Cai Guibin sighed in his heart. This Tang Zheng's luck was too great. Even a stalk of ginseng could transform. This was completely a ginseng spirit, a legendary spiritual object. Linga gradually calmed down. Her gaze locked onto the little seedling as she muttered to herself, "This little seedling's spiritual energy is too strong. It's like the legendary tree of life." The others were stunned when they heard this and quickly asked, "What is the tree of life?" Linga said, "The tree of life is the origin of all living things. It is said that it was a magical tree that existed since the beginning of the world. It is the ancestor of all plants. The tree of life contains powerful spiritual energy, and it will continuously emit spiritual energy to improve the natural environment, allowing the world to have more spiritual energy, making it more suitable for survival." Tang Zheng turned pale with fright. This tree of life was too powerful. Now the natural environment was bad, and the spiritual energy was thin. It was not suitable for cultivation. If this was really the tree of life, then the natural environment would be greatly improved in the future, and the spiritual energy would gradually become abundant. Wouldn't cultivation be twice the result with half the effort? This was simply the good news for the cultivators. He looked at the little seedling in disbelief. Did it really have such a strong power? "Linga, how did you know about this?" This was a matter of great importance and could not be careless. Tang Zheng naturally had to ask clearly. "This was what grandfather told me. Grandfather said that our ancestor was the tree of life. The tree of life had disappeared for many years, so the spiritual energy was getting thinner and thinner." Linga replied. "Grandfather said that the tree of life was a towering tree with luxuriant leaves. I wonder when this little seedling will grow to such a size." As the voice fell, the two leaves of the little seedling swayed. A green light soared into the sky and extended towards the cave above. Several people subconsciously retreated. They were shocked by this scene. But the transformation of the little seedling did not end there. The little seedling rapidly grew and instantly became as thick as a bucket. The leaves also became very huge and crazily rushed towards the cave above. Furthermore, it was still growing. It wouldn't take long before it would fill up the entire cave. Everyone would be crushed to pieces by the terrifying roots. "Climb up the tree trunk, quick." Tang Zheng's eyes were sharp and his hands were fast. He carried his grandfather up the tree trunk, and the others also jumped up. Xiao Bai and Gui Chen Sui also lied on the tree trunk, and along with the growth of the tree trunk, they quickly rushed up. Looking down, the cave was already filled with the tree trunk, and the little seedling had already grown into a towering tree. Many roots grew out from the tree trunk and drilled into the surrounding caves. In a short while, those caves were filled up. Tang Zheng, as if awakened from a dream, exclaimed, "I know, these caves were originally the tree of life's growth. No wonder they are so well connected. This must be caused by the growth of the roots of the tree of life." The other's eyes lit up and agreed with this judgment. "Doesn't that mean we can see the light of day again?" Fang Shusha was overjoyed. "We are on the main trunk. Don't fall down. The tree of life will definitely break out of the ground. At that time, we will be out of trouble." Tang Zhang reminded. Everyone's spirit was greatly lifted. They tightly grasped the tree trunk and quickly rushed up. Fortunately, Tang Dahai had already experienced everything before. His spirit muscles were already very big, otherwise, he would definitely be scared to death by this battle. Looking at this extraordinary person, many people woke up from their dream and shouted, "Kill him!" Tang Zheng's movement was much faster than them. In a flash, he had already sneaked into the base, and went straight to the center. He just happened to see Xing Feng's image appear on a huge screen, and immediately, he swaggered over. When the others saw this, they all rose up to resist, but they were all defeated by Tang Zheng. Xing Feng was flustered and exasperated. He could only watch all of this happen, but he was powerless to do anything. He could only shout hoarsely, "Tang Zheng, you are not dead. How can you not be dead? Xing Feng, are you disappointed? Just you wait, no matter where you are, your free and unfettered days don't last long." Tang Zheng said with a murderous aura. "You dare to destroy my base? You are going against me, against the country. You will definitely die." Xing Feng roared with an ashen face. "You can only represent yourself and the backers behind you. You can't represent the country. Don't give me a big hat." Tang Zheng said disdainfully, "This time, I will destroy your base. Let's see what else you can use to go against me." As soon as he finished speaking, he grabbed a chair beside him and threw it fiercely towards the screen. Xing Feng was so scared that he subconsciously took a few steps back. With a loud bang, the screen shattered, and the image flickered a few times before turning pitch black. Tang Zheng walked out in large strides, heading straight for the weapon warehouse and workshop. When he saw all kinds of sophisticated weapons, he summoned the heaven-shocking bow and the shooting sun arrows. Wang! The bowstring trembled, and the shooting sun arrows flew out, piercing through the shells of the three weapons and equipment. With a few rumbling sounds, the weapons and equipment turned into flames. In the end, he stood in the middle of the huge assembly workshop. One by one, the giant mechs were not yet completed, but they were already gradually revealing their brilliance. With a leap, he jumped onto a mech, grabbed the other party's head and tore it off. Following the same pattern, the mecha's limbs were torn off and turned into a pile of scrap metal. The huge workshop turned into ruins in a moment. However, Tang Jing also discovered the remains of King Kong No. 2. When he saw its exploded head, he couldn't help but be puzzled. This big fellow had been destroyed during the battle. He didn't know who was so powerful to be able to destroy it. He didn't investigate further and leisurely left the base. No one stopped him. Without Xing Feng around, these people were nothing to be afraid of. Standing under the tree of life, he stared blankly at the towering tree. He could clearly feel that there was an additional life force in the desert. KACHA. Chapter 5:16. Thunder in winter was not normal. Moreover, this bolt of lightning was thick and bright, as if it wanted to turn the tree of life into charcoal. A ball of green light rose from the top of the tree and met the lightning head-on. With a loud bang, the silver and green lights intertwined in the air. It was gorgeous and dazzling, completely overshadowing the light of the sun. Tang Zheng discovered something strange. There were no clouds in the sky, and the sky was clear for thousands of miles, so why was there lightning and thunder? How strange. Catcher. Catcher. Before he could figure out this problem, 2 bolts of lightning streaked across the sky and landed on the tree of life. These bolts of lightning seemed to have a mind of their own and would not be satisfied until they cut down this towering tree. Whoosh! The green light soared into the sky, and half of the sky was dyed green. 2 huge bolts of lightning flashed wildly, trying to break free from the green light, but found that it was futile. In the blink of an eye, the lightning disappeared. The green light exploded in the sky like fireworks. It was incomparably dazzling and turned into specks of green light. Hualala! It started to rain. It was a downpour. It was rare for it to rain in this desert, and it was impossible for it to rain in this cold winter. But at this moment, it was raining heavily. Moreover, the sky was bright, and there were no dark clouds at all. No one knew where the rain came from. Tang Zheng felt completely different. When the rain fell on his body, he could clearly feel traces of spiritual energy contained in the rain, slapping on his skin. Ordinary rain could not contain spiritual energy, but this rain was clearly not ordinary rain. It was formed by the explosion of the green light. The tree of life is really magical. It's really magical. Tang Zheng exclaimed. The other ordinary people did not have such sharp senses. They only saw the sudden rain in the clear sky and could not help but feel a sense of novelty. Tang Zheng did not waste this gift from the tree of life. He quickly circulated the ancient clear heaven scroll and dragon god secret art. The 2 cultivation techniques immediately displayed their magical effects. 2 vortexes formed above Tang Zheng's head, and the spiritual energy between heaven and earth frantically poured into his body. Like a whale sucking in water, the spirit qi in Tang Zheng's body rapidly increased and was transformed into true qi, filling up his 8 extraordinary meridians. A golden light suddenly blossomed from his body. As the amount of spiritual energy he absorbed increased, he finally turned into a golden man. The heavy rain stopped, and so did Tang Zheng. The golden light grew thicker and thicker until it finally transformed into a small golden dragon. It shook its head and wagged its tail as it drilled into his mind and disappeared into his forehead, leaving behind a golden mark. This imprint was very faint, but upon closer inspection, one could see that it was a golden dragon head, full of dragon might. Tang Zheng was stunned. After absorbing this spiritual energy, the divine dragon art had unknowingly broken through to the 2nd layer. The divine dragon secret art had a total of 6 levels, and it was a cultivation technique of the dragon clan. Moreover, the divine dragon secret art was very difficult to learn at the beginning. In the past, it was not easy for him to reach the 1st level of the divine dragon secret art. After that, the divine dragon technique did not make any progress for a long time, so he temporarily neglected this technique. However, at this moment, he actually made a breakthrough, and there was an additional golden dragon in his mind. This little dragon had 2 dragon claws, and it was awe-inspiring. It was branded on his forehead, and he wondered what was so special about it. I'll ask the 5-clawed golden dragon when I reach the capital. He suppressed the curiosity in his heart and looked at the treetop. He waved to the others, and they quickly slid down the tree trunk. Let's leave this place first. During this period of time, the old man had been frightened, so Tang Zheng wanted to settle him down first before going to find Xingfeng to settle the score. As for the tree of life's mysteries, since this tree grew here, it would not run away. He could carefully study it later. Cai Gui Bin was hesitant. Captain Cai, you have already become Xingfeng's abandoned pawn. Do you still want to stay here? You should be clearer than me on what the consequences will be. Tang Zheng lightly said. Cai Gui Bin had been in the system for so many years, so he naturally knew what would happen if he stayed. With Xingfeng's style, he would definitely push all the blame for this failure on him. Maybe he would kill him first and report later. The dead tell no tales, and even if the higher-ups wanted to investigate, they would have no way to do so. Cai Gui Bin compromised and deeply looked at the devastated base. He originally thought that his career would take a big leap here, but he never thought that this place would become his Waterloo. He was disheartened. The few of them left the base, but the people of the Dragon Group were still in shock. Everything that happened today was completely beyond their imagination. But the miracle did not stop. The rain moistened the yellow sand, and a cool breeze blew by. Traces of green came out from the yellow sand. Look! Someone cried out in surprise. Everyone looked at their feet, and in a short while, the yellow sand was filled with green. Grass came out from the yellow sand, turning it into a grassland. A desert turning into a grassland, This was something that no amount of technology could do. But at this moment, it was done in an instant. If this was not a miracle, then what was? Everyone raised their heads to look at the tree of life. The other party was still in shock and stammered, Tang Zheng, all of this started because of him. Tang Zheng? Xu Yingtian originally thought that Tang Zheng was dead, and his plan had failed, and a sense of defeat shrouded his heart. But he did not expect that he was completely wrong. Tang Zheng had given him a big surprise, but what did this tree have to do with Tang Zheng? Where was Tang Zheng? He wanted to find him and ask him clearly, and find out the ins and outs of this tree. After asking around, he found out that Tang Zheng had already brought his people away. Thus, he immediately gave the order that he must find Tang Zheng and protect his safety at all costs. He was very clear about what Xingfeng would do when he went berserk, so of course he could not let Xingfeng succeed. Suddenly, he turned his head and looked into the distance. Two people walked out from behind a sand dune. His pupils suddenly shrank as he stared at the two of them. The two of them were strolling leisurely, but in the blink of an eye, they actually closed the distance between them and arrived in front of him. When the members of the dragon group saw the two of them, they subconsciously retreated. Their expressions were filled with fear, and their hearts were filled with lingering fear. Martial sect. Xu Yingtian recognized Martial, but he did not know anything about the beautiful young woman beside her, and could not help but frown. Lan Yu raised her head and stared at the tree of life. She took a deep breath and said, "What a dense spiritual energy." Spiritual energy was something that ordinary people could not sense. Although Lan Yu was a martial artist, her realm had already reached a certain level, so she could clearly sense the spiritual energy in the air. However, she was not like Tang Zheng, who could turn the spiritual energy into her own for her own use. The spiritual qi of heaven and earth has undergone a huge change because of this towering tree. It won't be long before the spiritual qi of heaven and earth becomes abundant. For cultivators, this is a great thing. She muttered to herself, her mood and attitude could not be seen. Could it be that what should come is really coming? Back then, the cultivators were expelled. Could it be that it is time for them to return? Even the living environment has been unknowingly prepared for them. Hearing that, Xu Yingtian's heart skipped a beat. He took a step forward and asked, "May I ask who you are?" Lan Yu did not even turn her head as she stared at the tree of life for a long time. After a long while, she turned her head to look at Xu Yingtian and asked, "Tang Zheng is not dead. This is related to Tang Zheng, right?" Xu Yingtian hesitated for a moment, then nodded and said, "Yes." A hint of joy flashed across Lan Yu's face as she impatiently asked, "Where is he? I want to see him." Xu Yingtian shook his head, "I don't know either." Now that they were relying on the Song family, they were not immediately exposed. However, people with discerning eyes no longer liked the Chu family. Chu Xiaofeng had suffered a lot recently. Those who used to flatter him had gradually distanced themselves from him. He was like a god of plague. However, fortunately, Song Yu still brought him along to play, so he could still maintain his image as a young master. This time, Xingfeng took the initiative to invite Song Yu and Chu Xiaofeng. Song Yu was not surprised, but Chu Xiaofeng was flattered and did not dare to put on airs like before. Looking at Chu Xiaofeng's expression, Xingfeng was secretly pleased. In the past, he would always be careful when facing these aristocratic family disciples. For example, when he faced Long Tongyu in the past, it was the same. But now, these people from the big families had to be respectful and cautious when facing him. This kind of huge change brought about a great sense of accomplishment, and it couldn't be any better. He knew very well that all these changes were because he was the leader of the dragon group. Without the dragon group, he was nothing. These arrogant people from large families would not even spare him a glance. Both parties entered the private room, dismissed their attendants, and toasted each other happily. Not long after, they called each other brothers. Sigh. Suddenly, Xingfeng let out a heavy sigh. Song Yu understood the meaning of the song and asked cooperatively, "Big brother Xing's future is bright. Why are you sighing?" Xingfeng smiled bitterly and shook his head. "You two brothers might not know, but recently, I've been in a terrible state because of a matter. I'm afraid I won't be able to sit in this position for long. Big Brother Xing must be joking. Other than you, who else can be the leader of the dragon group? Moreover, your results are obvious to everyone. Who can snatch away your credit? Chu Xiaofeng fought for the injustice and said, "You two brothers are also straightforward people, so I won't hide it from you. A while ago, the life-continuing pill appeared in the capital. I'm sure you two are very clear about it, right?" Song Yu's pupils constricted slightly, revealing a hint of vigilance, but on the surface, he remained calm. Chu Xiaofeng, on the other hand, had a face full of displeasure, and said indignantly, "Isn't it just something that Tang Zheng, that brat, deliberately put up for auction?" During that period of time, the Chu clan was in a terrible state and did not obtain a single life-continuing pill. The other three clans benefited, especially the Yang family, who obtained 5 life-continuing pills. That's right, it's the life-continuing pill that Tang Zheng created. I don't know where this brat got his luck from, but he actually managed to create such a heaven-defying pill. It's said that the effects are pretty good. The people above want this thing, so this mission naturally fell on my shoulders. Oh, then let's go find that brat. I don't believe he won't give it to us, Chu Xiaofeng said as a matter of fact. Song Yu rolled her eyes at Chu Xiaofeng, feeling a bit embarrassed. During this period of time, Chu Xiaofeng only cared about eating, drinking, and playing. He did not care about anything else and did not even know about the struggle between Tang Zheng and the dragon group. Only then would he say such an amateur's words. Xing Feng's heart also flashed with disdain, thinking that this Chu Xiaofeng was a hopeless fool. Now that his clan was in decline, he was even less useful. He turned his head to look at Song Yu. Song Yu understood and said, "That day, my family also obtained 2 life-continuing pills, but they were already used by my father and father. Otherwise, I would have given them to Big Brother Xing." This was purely a perfunctory speech. Of the 2 life-continuing pills that he had won, there was actually 1 left. One of them had entered the stomach of the Song family's patriarch, and the remaining one was a life-saving item, so it was closely guarded. Of course, this truth could not be told to anyone. Xing Feng did not look into the truth of his words and only pretended to be moved as he said, "If other people were as reasonable as little brother, then I would not be in such a terrible situation. To tell you two little brothers the truth, this Tang Zheng is a slippery loach. Wanting to force him to hand over the life-continuing pills is not an easy matter." That day, the one who obtained the most life-continuing pills was the Yang family. However, the Yang family was not as reasonable as the Song family head. They purposely kept the life-continuing pills for themselves and did not hand them over. This made me very passive. Song Yu's heart was filled with disdain, thinking that only an idiot would hand over such a miraculous pill. However, on the surface, she pretended to be angry and said, "The Yang family has always been arrogant. They don't even put our other clans in their eyes, but they actually dared to treat Big Brother Xing like this. They must have eaten the heart of a leopard and should be severely punished." Song Yu also understood the meaning behind Xing Feng's words. This fellow was clearly afraid of dealing with the Yang family alone. He wanted to rope in the Song and Chu families to deal with the Yang family. This way, their chances of success would be greater. The corners of Xing Feng's mouth curled up into a smile. It was easy to talk to smart people, and he knew that Song Yu had already guessed his thoughts. Thus, he no longer hesitated and went straight to the point. The Yang family is a big family, and they run amok. This kind of family should be eliminated. On the other hand, the Song family and the Chu family, who are so righteous, should become stronger. I think so too, but the Yang family is powerful after all, and it won't be easy for us to shake his position. However, if we have the help of the Dragon Group, I believe that this matter will be much easier. The other party finally revealed his foxtail, and Song Yu continued to speak as if he was beating a snake on a stick. "My 2 brothers are deeply righteous. Take this cup of wine as my toast to you. The Dragon Group has long disliked the Yang family. This time, let's join hands and definitely make the Yang family look good," Xing Feng said in high spirits. Song Yu and Chu Xiaofeng raised their wine cups, and the three of them looked at each other and smiled. The Yang family did not know that a storm was about to sweep over them. Yang Qingyi quickly walked into her father's room and said impatiently, "Father, the heavens are clear. My previous prediction was not wrong. Tang Zheng's fate has not been changed." Yang Potian held his teacup, took a sip of tea, lightly smacked his lips, and said, "Tang Zheng has already escaped danger. The change in the heavens this time might be related to the newly appeared towering tree." The news about the Tree of Life had already reached the desk of the relevant personnel, and the Yang family was naturally one of the people who knew about it. Yang Qingyi, on the other hand, didn't know about the towering tree. After listening to his father's explanation, his eyes lit up, and he said, "It's most likely this tree that caused the changes in the mysteries of heaven. What kind of tree is this? I want to see it for myself. That place has already been sealed off by the military. No one else can get close to it." Yang Qingyi remained unmoved. "I will naturally find a way." After saying that, she left with large strides. Yang Potian stared blankly at the setting sun, and muttered to himself, "Tang Zheng, oh Tang Zheng, the Yang family has placed most of their chips on you. You better not disappoint me, otherwise, the Yang family's losses will be hard to estimate." Tang Zheng did not know about Yang Potian's worries. He brought a group of people and left the desert, heading back home. He did not hide from others and directly returned to Ordinary Balance's home. The blockade here had already been removed, and although there were still many police spies, no one dared to act rashly. Without the pressure of the Dragon Group, the Ordinary Balance officials did not want to touch Tang Zheng. After all, the impression of that battle was too deep, and no one dared to underestimate Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng was not afraid that the people from the Dragon Group would come looking for him again. Without the mech, the super warrior was not his match at all. If Xingfeng dared to come to Ordinary Balance, it would suit him even more. He would not hesitate to let Xingfeng go underground to celebrate the new year. There was also an even more important reason that prompted him to return to Ordinary Balance. The old man still had too many old brothers in Ordinary Balance. In order to not let them worry, and in order to not let the neighbors gossip that Tang Zheng was an enemy of the country, he stubbornly insisted on returning to Ordinary Balance. Using practical actions to dispel these people's concerns and rumors, allowing Tang Zheng to be a proper person, and not a criminal who had escaped. Chapter 518. There were too many legends about that battle. Tang Zheng's name, which was not particularly well known among the general public, had become well known in Ordinary Balance after word of mouth had spread. Many people suddenly realized that he was the previous provincial college entrance exam champion. The Takashi that had been widely publicized by the media was actually an imposter. In addition, the fact that Tang Zheng had won the martial arts conference championship made many people's blood boil. This could explain why Tang Zheng had been able to create such a huge commotion in Ordinary Balance. The lighting that night was not good, so many people still did not see the mecha and the four symbols venerable. They only knew that Tang Zheng had gotten into a fierce conflict with someone very powerful. Of course, the residents that night had seen these two big guys, but when they said it, it was taken as an exaggeration. No one believed it. All in all, the details of that night's events had only spread to a small area. The general public only knew that Ordinary Balance had produced a very impressive young man, Tang Zheng. It was said that he had gone against the authorities. Many people did not think that there was anything wrong with him. Instead, they felt that he had the style of a chivalrous hero from ancient times, daring to risk universal condemnation. When they heard that he had returned to Ordinary Balance and that the authorities had not arrested him, many people were full of admiration. They all wanted to pay homage to this modern chivalrous hero. The entrance to the Upper Wind and Upper Water residential area was blocked by many people, but the security guards at the entrance were determined not to let them pass. Speaking of Upper Wind and Upper Water, this real estate development company had also suffered a lot. Last time, Tang Zheng had gone on a killing spree, turning this place into a living hell. It had really frightened many residents. Since then, many people had moved out of the residential area, and no one dared to buy a house here. Today, when they heard that this killing god had returned, the people in the real estate company were even more restless. They were deeply afraid that Tang Zheng would put on another show. If that happened, their company would really be in big trouble. Before they could sit down, a guest arrived at Tang Zheng's house. Deng Maotsai stood at the door, cowering. He didn't dare to look straight at Tang Zheng because he had been severely reprimanded the last time he leaked information and was almost suspended. Today, as soon as Tang Zheng returned to ordinary balance, he was sent by his superiors to find out what was going on. The local officials of ordinary balance already knew that Tang Zheng was involved in a power struggle between their superiors. Those who didn't know what was going on didn't dare to touch Tang Zheng rashly. "Director Deng, you're here. Please come in." Tang Zheng revealed a trace of a smile and warmly greeted him. Because of his information, Lin Hu and the others did not fall into the hands of the Dragon Group, so he had a good impression of Deng Maotsai. Deng Maotsai was overwhelmed by the favor and nervously said, "Young Master Tang, I'm really sorry about the past. I was only following orders, so I took action against Ordinary Balance's underground world. The strike-down operation had destroyed Ordinary Balance's underground world. Tang Zheng was the boss of the underground world, so Deng Maotsai was naturally afraid that he would blame him. Tang Zheng didn't mind and waved his hand, "You don't have to take it to heart. Let bygones be bygones. Moreover, the underground world is after all illegal. Banning it will allow our brothers to walk on the right path. This is also a good thing. If it was in the past, Tang Zheng might be angry. After all, this was a foundation that he had single-handedly built. But now, he wanted to thank everything. The enemy was so quick to cut the Gordian knot and destroy this grey world. In the future, he would no longer be the boss of the underground world. That identity was no longer attractive to him. Instead, it was a burden. Everything he wanted could be obtained openly. He had the strength, so there was no need for him to do the opposite. His future career was on the right path. With sufficient funds and Mu Hongyang at the helm, he was completely confident that he could establish a business empire. This was much more meaningful than being the boss of the underground world. Deng Maotsai looked at him with suspicion. These words were really out of his expectations. He couldn't judge whether it was true or false. After observing for a while and confirming that Tang Zheng wasn't angry, Deng Maotsai sighed in relief and said, "Young Master Tang, this time you returned to ordinary balance. Has everything been dealt with? There are some things that you don't want to know, so as to avoid bringing trouble to yourself." Deng Maotsai shrunk his neck and understood. Understood. If young Master Tang needs anything in the future, please don't hesitate to tell me. Seeing Tang Zheng so calm, Deng Maotsai's heart finally returned to his stomach. The stronger Tang Zheng was, the more benefits Deng Maotsai would have. But seeing that the other party's family was reunited, he tactfully didn't disturb them and hurriedly said goodbye. "Chief Deng, there are so many people outside the neighborhood. Please deal with them." Tang Zheng didn't want to be a panda surrounded by onlookers. His principle was to keep a low profile. "Okay, deal with it immediately." Deng Maotsai happily returned to report and sent people to disperse the onlookers at the entrance of the neighborhood. After Changheng City's municipal government heard Deng Maotsai's report, their hearts finally relaxed. It was almost the new year. If another incident happened, they wouldn't be able to keep their official positions. Of course, Tang Zheng was like a ticking time bomb that could explode at any time. They desperately wanted Tang Zheng to leave ordinary balance, but no one dared to order him around. Cai Guibin had already left. It was said that he went home to visit his family and made an appointment with Tang Zheng to meet after the new year. Therefore, only Fang Sheshe and Linga were left in Tang Zheng's house. These two beautiful girls attracted a lot of attention on their way back. Linga and Fang Sheshe had an extra touch of otherworldly temperament. They were like fairies that didn't eat the food of mortals. Both of them had their own merits. Looking at the two of them, Tang Zheng had a dazzling feeling. "Sheshe, your parents are very worried about you. I'll send you home first," Tang Zheng said. Fang Sheshe and Tang Zheng had been separated for a long time. Moreover, after experiencing this incident, it was even more difficult for them to part. She reluctantly said, "I'll stay at your house first. Otherwise, what if the people from the Dragon Group come?" I want to go through thick and thin with you. Seeing the deep longing in her eyes, Tang Zheng couldn't bear to refuse. He nodded and called her parents to inform them. Then he stayed at home. Master, where will Linga stay at night? Suddenly, Linga asked with wide eyes. She didn't feel guilty about being a third wheel. Tang Zheng slapped his head. How could he forget about Linga? This house only had 2 bedrooms. How could 4 people live in it? Fang Shisha originally wanted to whisper to Tang Zheng and do something intimate. But she suddenly realized that it was impossible. She couldn't help but feel a little dispirited. You and Shisha can live together. There was no other way. Tang Zheng could only arrange it like this. He could only temporarily ignore Fang Shisha's resentful eyes. Let's go buy daily necessities and clothes. We don't have anything at home. Fang Shisha suggested. Tang Zheng glanced at Linga's dress. This girl was unaffected by cold and heat. She was wearing a thin green dress that occasionally revealed her smooth white long legs. No wonder she attracted the most attention on the street. This was winter. Although it didn't snow much in ordinary balance, the temperature was only 4 or 5 degrees. Dressing like this was really called not caring about the temperature. Well, let's go buy clothes. Xiao Bai, Gui Chen Sui, you 2 stay at home and protect Grandpa. Tang Zheng took the 2 beauties to the street. Suddenly, the number of people who turned their heads skyrocketed. Fortunately, Tang Zheng had already experienced the feeling of being the center of attention. Otherwise, he would definitely feel like sitting on pins and needles. The 3 people just arrived at the entrance of a shopping mall. Suddenly, a person jumped out from the side and blocked the 3 people's path. Tang Zheng's heart trembled. He wanted to attack the other person, but found that this person's face was somewhat familiar. He seemed to have seen it somewhere before. Wow, fairy. This image, this temperament, as gentle as jade. You're definitely the star of tomorrow. Kung Fu Bro, you really give me a big surprise every time. This beautiful girl, hello, my name is Remi. You can call me Sister Remi. The other person spoke as if they were familiar with each other. His pair of eyes rolled around Linga's body. Looking at his sissy appearance, and a man calling himself Sister Remi, Tang Zheng rolled his eyes and finally remembered who he was. In the beginning, after Tang Zheng won the martial arts convention, he was called Kung Fu Bro by the people on the internet. This sissy came to him and said that he wanted to package him into a star. Tang Zheng was not interested at all, so he ignored him. Who would have thought that this sissy would not give up and found ordinary balance? He really has perseverance. Remi looked at Linga with shining eyes. After a while, she looked at Fang Shisha and said, this beautiful girl's temperament is also excellent. It's a different kind of beauty. She has a trace of intelligence. She will definitely become famous if she is carefully packaged. Kung Fu Bro, now I finally believe that birds of a feather flock together. The people around you are too suitable to walk the path of a star. Remi was very excited, but looked at Tang Zheng with a bit of bitterness. She sighed and said, but, Kung Fu Bro, I have to say that you wasted your previous popularity. If you had debuted a few months ago, you would have become even more popular. But now it's not too late. With my sister Remi taking care of everything, you will definitely become popular all over the country and go to the world. Fang Shisha and Linga were confused. They did not know what was going on and looked at Tang Zheng blankly. Stop. Tang Zheng did not know whether to laugh or cry. He waved his hand and interrupted Remi. You really are persevering. Why did you come here again? Isn't it all because of you? You really don't have a conscience. Remi pointed at Tang Zheng and complained. Fang Shisha looked at the 2 of them strangely. If she did not believe that Tang Zheng was a normal man, she would have suspected that there was something going on between them. Remi looked like a resentful woman who had been abandoned after having sex with her. Hey, you have to make it clear that I didn't do anything. Tang Zheng was speechless. Talking to this sissy is really infuriating. I was kind enough to want to keep you, but you avoided me and you still have the nerve to say that you didn't do anything. Hey, what do you mean keep me, fuck? Looking at the strange gazes around him, Tang Zheng was embarrassed. He could accept being kept by a woman, but being kept by a man, he would rather die. Chapter 519. Tang Jing didn't want to be surrounded like a panda. He grabbed one in each hand and strode towards the mall, saying, "I'm not interested in the dream of being a star, don't bother me. Hey, Kung Fu bro, you can't waste this opportunity. Otherwise, it'll be hard to package you in the future. Besides, being a star is very profitable." Remi hurriedly chased after him, unwilling to let the prey in her hands run away. Tang Jing turned a deaf ear to her, but Linga turned her head to look at Remi and curiously asked, "Master, are stars the people who sing on TV?" "People who sing are a type of star," Tang Jing casually said. Linga's eyes lit up and exclaimed, "Wow, being a star and being able to sing is really great." Remi was overjoyed when she heard this. She trotted over and said, "Beauty, your voice is very clear and has a lot of texture. It's very suitable for singing. In the future, you'll definitely be able to produce best-selling songs." "Really?" Linga asked innocently. "I promise." Remi patted her chest. Sister Remi will definitely fulfill her promise. When Tang Jing heard this, his heart skipped a beat. Remi used to like listening to songs. Because of this, she almost scared her grandfather. Could it be that she really has a soft spot for singing? Looking at her expectant eyes, Tang Jing stopped and asked, "Linga, do you really want to be a star?" Linga opened her eyes wide and cutely said, "If being a star can sing, then Linga wants to be one." Tang Jing frowned. Linga had a simple heart and was inexperienced. The entertainment industry was a big dye vat. Linga was like a piece of delicious food. Those hungry wolves in the entertainment industry would not give up on her and would easily take advantage of her. Moreover, her identity was special. If she was not careful and her identity was exposed, then there would be even more trouble. When Linga saw Tang Jing frown, she thought that Tang Jing was angry. She hurriedly waved her hands and said in a panic, "Master, Linga is no longer a celebrity. I won't sing anymore. Master, don't be angry with Linga." As she spoke, tears welled up in her eyes, making her look extremely pitiful. Remi was shocked. This beauty actually called Kung Fu Bro Master and cared so much about his attitude. What is their relationship? Moreover, it wasn't easy for him to find such a promising future star. How could he let him go? Thus, Remi hurriedly persuaded, "Kung Fu Bro, I'm sincere. I'll definitely make her popular. Linga, don't be sad. I'm not angry." Tang Jing tightly grasped Linga's hand and explained. Linga was relieved. She patted her chest and said with a smile, "Then Linga can rest assured. From now on, Linga will always be by Master's side and serve Master." These words were like the attitude of a maid without status in ancient times towards her master. Remi's eyes almost fell out of their sockets. Even though Fang Shisha knew Linga's background, seeing her so dead set on Tang Jing, she was also amazed. Beauty, people must have their own ideals and opinions. Moreover, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Remi did not give up and persuaded. He didn't believe that there was no girl in this society who didn't want to be a star. Being rich and famous is a good thing that many people can only dream of. But it was clear that Linga broke his fixed thinking again and again. Linga pouted and said impatiently, "I already said that I don't want to be a star. Why do you still want to persuade me? Do you really want Master to be angry with me? Mitch, you're such a bad guy. I'm not talking to you." After saying that, she turned her head in a fit of pique as if she didn't want to see Remi's face. Remi was flabbergasted. In this modern society, there was actually someone who was so obedient to others. He felt like he had returned to the olden days. Moreover, Linga was such a beautiful girl. He thought with bad intentions, could it be that Kung Fu Bro had some unusual training methods? If that was the case, then he would really be struck by lightning. To be so ruthless to train such a pharaoh-like person, how heartless would he have to be? Remi had mixed feelings and was incomparably depressed. He truly understood what it meant to be defeated. In fact, he used to be a gold medal manager in the entertainment industry. It was because he once offended an entertainment tycoon that he ended up in this miserable state. He didn't have a single artist in his hands and finally found a gem like Tang Zheng. However, Tang Zheng had no intention of entering the entertainment industry. He originally thought that his luck would change today and he would pick up another gem, but he didn't expect to be defeated again. No, I can't be looked down upon by those people. If I miss this opportunity, I won't have a chance to make a comeback. Out of these 3 people, I must grab one. Remi silently made up his mind. He turned his gaze and stared at Fang Shusha. But before he could speak, Fang Shusha understood and waved her hand. Sorry, I'm not interested in the entertainment industry. Remi really wanted to scream. Do you still want me to live? Why is God so cruel to me? It was like a person who was about to die of thirst in the desert and suddenly saw a pool of water. But when he walked closer, he realized that it was a mirage. Everything was not real. How could this not make people collapse? Remi was in a daze. He looked at Tang Zheng bitterly and said, Brother Kung Fu, is there really no room for discussion? Tang Zheng glanced at Linga and said, leave me your phone number. I'll go back and think about it. What made him change his attitude was the look in Linga's eyes. She was obviously too passionate about singing. She only had the opportunity to transform into a human after cultivating for so many years. Since she came to the world of mortals, if she didn't experience something she was interested in, wouldn't it be too boring to live? Moreover, Tang Zheng still hadn't thought of a way to arrange for Linga. Although she transformed, her cultivation wasn't high and she couldn't help him much. Why not let her live a happy life according to her own wishes? Who knows, maybe she could really become a big star in the future. Hearing this, Linga revealed a trace of surprise, but there was a hint of joy between her eyebrows. Remi's expression was especially exaggerated. She was wild with joy and directly threw herself at Tang Zheng. She looked like she really had the urge to kiss and offer her body on the spot. Tang Zheng quickly dodged Remi's enthusiasm and said, you can go back. We still have to go shopping. Remi didn't mind at all and hurriedly nodded and bowed. This is my business card. You guys go ahead. Remember to think about it and call me. I'll be at ordinary balance for a while. Tang Zheng hurriedly brought the 2 beauties into a nearby clothing store. Fang Shesha and Linga were both clothes hangers. They could wear any clothes with a unique temperament, so clothes weren't difficult to buy. Seeing Linga enter the fitting room to change, Fang Shesha asked curiously, you really want Linga to enter the entertainment industry? The entertainment industry's reputation isn't good, but if she's interested, it's not impossible. Hihi, you're quite accommodating to her. But such a beauty is really hard to refuse. You're also beautiful. Right, speaking of clothes, I prepared a special set of clothes for you. I'll give it to you when we get back. Tang Zheng said. You prepared a gift for me. Fang Shesha was overjoyed. What is it? You'll know when the time comes. Tang Zheng pretended to be mysterious. Hehe, you know how to keep me in suspense. Did you also use this trick to trick other girls in school? Fang Shesha pinched the flesh on Tang Zheng's waist and said with a smile. No, absolutely not. Tang Zheng said with a straight face. Really? Fang Shesha smiled faintly. Yi Dingdang has been coveting you for a long time. Tang Zheng looked embarrassed. The matter between him and Yi Dingdang couldn't be explained clearly in a few words. Moreover, the 2 of them had experienced so many things together. Their relationship was really growing day by day. However, Tang Zheng wasn't stupid. He couldn't say that another girl was good in front of another girl. Suddenly, Linga walked out of the fitting room and circled in front of Tang Zheng. She happily asked, Master, do you think I'm beautiful? Beautiful. Tang Zheng instinctively wanted to praise her, but his eyes were fixed. Linga was wearing a light green woolen coat and a shirt underneath. However, there were 2 obvious protrusions on the shirt. It was very conspicuous. Linga didn't notice at all. Instead, she moved closer to Tang Zheng and asked, Master, is Linga beautiful? Protrusions. This scene was too exciting. Moreover, she was already quite open-minded, so this scene was even more prominent. Fang Shesha glared at Tang Zheng and hurriedly said, Linga, let's go into the fitting room. There's a big pervert here. What's a pervert? Linga innocently asked, but Fang Shusha had already dragged her into the fitting room. Tang Jing let out a sigh of relief. This was a test of his endurance. Fortunately, there was no one else nearby. Otherwise, if they saw this beautiful scene, Linga would be at a disadvantage. Linga doesn't seem to have any underwear. The dress from before was a bit big, so I couldn't tell. Now that she's wearing this tight garment, her true colors are revealed. In the future, I must teach Linga how to protect herself. Not long after, Fang Shusha came out. Her face was red, and she quickly closed the door, as if she was afraid that Tang Zheng would peek. She glared at Tang Zheng and said, "Just now, your eyeballs were about to fall out. You guys are really perverted." Tang Zheng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He cried out that he had been wronged. He really didn't have any romantic thoughts just now. It was just pure shock. "Watch over me. I'll be back soon." "What are you going to do?" "Buy clothes." Seeing Fang Shusha quickly walk into a lingerie shop not far away, Tang Jing seemed to wake up from a dream. She was going to buy lingerie for Linga. "Master, did I do something wrong?" Linga's voice floated out. She was a bit nervous. "Linga, don't think too much. You didn't do anything wrong. Then why would big sister Shusha be angry? She even said that I should be on guard against you. You are Linga's master. Why would Linga be on guard against you?" This little girl's brain simply couldn't understand these questions. Don't listen to her nonsense. There are many rules in this human world. You'll slowly get used to it in the future. Tang Zheng said perfunctorily. "Oh, Linga is very stupid. Master, please don't despise Linga. Linga will definitely work hard and not be so stupid." Tang Zheng couldn't help but laugh. Linga wasn't stupid at all. She just lacked life experience. After comforting her for a while, she finally stopped feeling uneasy. Fang Shusha also carried a bag of underwear into the fitting room. Tang Jing couldn't help but think, without trying it on herself, how could she know the size? Could it be that she measured it with her hands? "Is Grandpa asleep?" Fang Shusha turned around and asked. Tang Jing sat beside her and casually hugged her waist. She twisted a few times and muttered, "Linga is beside us." Linga's attention was on the TV and did not notice the intimate actions of the two. "It's okay." Tang Jing did not make a move. Fang Shusha did not escape from his evil claws and let him take advantage of her. The two reunited after a long time and experienced a life-and-death situation together. Fang Shusha's mind had always been tense. At this moment, she was completely relaxed and could not help but lean into Tang Jing's arms. She felt particularly warm and safe. Their ears and temples rubbed against each other. Their bodies gradually warmed up. Fang Shusha's breathing quickened and her face flushed. She glanced at Linga, who was unaware of it, and felt embarrassed. If it were not for this third wheel, the two of them could have done a lot of things. "I'm going to sleep first." Fang Shusha's heart was aroused. She even felt Tang Jing's reaction. She was afraid of creating an even more awkward situation and quickly stood up. Tang Jing also suppressed the charming thoughts in his heart and said, "Linga, you should also go to sleep." "Oh." Linga stood up obediently. "Master, Linga is sleeping on your bed." "Where are you going to sleep?" "I'll sleep on the sofa." "How can that be?" "You should also sleep with me. I think the bed is quite big. The three of us should be able to sleep on it." Linga said innocently. Tang Jing's head thumped. This girl's suggestion was too wild. However, it was obvious that she did not have such thoughts. Fang Shusha speechlessly rolled her eyes. She glared at Tang Jing and hurriedly pulled Linga into the room. She was afraid that she would say something shocking again. Tang Jing bitterly smiled and shook his head. He lay down on the sofa and covered himself with a quilt. In a daze, Tang Jing found himself lying on a large bed. On his left was Fang Shusha and on his right was Linga. The two of them breathed out like orchids and wrapped around Tang Jing like water snakes. Not long after, the three of them were naked. Tang Jing was intoxicated by their attractive bodies. Suddenly, he did not know who pushed him. He found that the person in front of him disappeared. He opened his eyes in a daze and a beautiful face appeared in front of him. "What are you talking about?" Fang Shisha asked. "Ah, so it was just a dream." That dream was too erotic. Looking at Fang Shisha, who was so close to him, he could not help but feel a little embarrassed. He actually dreamed of sleeping with her and Linga. This was too ridiculous, but it was quite exciting. This must be because the words that Linga said before she tried on clothes during the day left a deep impression in his subconscious. That was why he had this kind of dream. "Do I really want to do that in my bones?" Tang Zheng coughed in a low voice to cover up his embarrassment. He said in a daze, "Nothing. Why are you up?" "I'm going to the bathroom. If there's nothing else, go back to sleep." Fang Shisha walked into the bathroom. Tang Zheng stared at the bathroom door. He did not feel sleepy at all. He heard the faint sound of running water and the evil fire in his heart gradually rose. He sneakily got off the sofa and walked towards the bathroom. He gently twisted the door lock. It was not locked and the door opened. "Ah, what are you doing?" Fang Shisha opened her mouth in surprise. "Hihi, I also want to go to the bathroom. Hurry up and get out. I haven't put on my pants yet." "What are you afraid of? It's not like you haven't seen it before." "Pervert, don't talk nonsense." "Aya, what are you doing? Don't be naughty." How could he let go of a sheep that was already in his hands? Although the walls had ears, it could not stop the fiery passion of two young people. Moreover, most of the time, they were asleep. Tang Zheng decided to take the risk. Not long after, there was a slight panting sound in the bathroom. "You pervert, bad guy. You only know how to bully people." After a long time, Fang Shisha tiptoed out of the bathroom. Her face was flushed and her eyes were like spring water. She was extremely flirtatious. Tang Zheng followed behind her with a smile on his face. However, Fang Shisha rolled her eyes at him. Seeing his proud look, she pinched his waist a few times and said coquettishly, "You're getting bolder and bolder." "It's love," Tang Zheng said with a smirk. "Fortunately, we weren't found out. Otherwise, how can I face people in the future?" Fang Shisha complained. "It felt good just now. Why don't we do it again in the bathroom in the middle of the night?" "Get out, pervert." Fang Shisha suppressed her pounding heart and quickly walked into the bedroom. Tang Zheng, on the other hand, was satisfied as he lay on the sofa and fell asleep. The next day, just as Tang Zheng opened his eyes, there was a knock on the door. "Knock, knock, knock." Tang Zheng jumped up from the sofa and rushed to the door. He looked through the peephole. "Hey, it's not the enemy. It's Fang Shisha's parents. Uncle, auntie, good morning. Why are you here so early?" Tang Zheng opened the door and looked at the two people curiously. Yesterday, when they came back, Ordinary Balance called them to inform them that Fang Shisha was staying at their house. But Shi Mengqin didn't sleep well last night. Her daughter escaped danger and didn't go back to her own house. Instead, she stayed at Tang Zheng's house. What was going on? Yesterday on the phone, she was about to get angry but was stopped by her husband. But after lying on the bed for an entire night, her anger burned even more fiercely. A girl who hadn't even married into the family yet was staying at the man's house. What kind of scandal was this? Although young people nowadays advocated freedom and the two of them had stayed together in the Fang family, they had already done what they should and shouldn't do. Shi Mengqin also adopted the attitude of opening one eye and closing the other. But this time was different. Fang Shisha stayed at Tang Zheng's house overnight. If the elders of the Tang family saw this, what would they think? Wouldn't they look down on her daughter? The more she thought about it, the angrier she got. Thus, she ran over early in the morning to denounce them. "Where is my daughter?" Shi Mengqin curiously asked. "She's still sleeping." "I'll go call her." "Uncle, auntie, come in and sit." Tang Zheng politely greeted. Fang Chonghua nodded towards Tang Zheng. He was more open-minded and didn't make a fuss over nothing like his wife. Moreover, when he saw Tang Zheng again, he found that the other's temperament had changed a lot. Imperceptibly, there was an additional sense of dignity. This was something that shouldn't be present on a 20-year-old youth. However, Thinking about Tang Zheng's experience and ability, Fang Chonghua felt relieved. This cheap son-in-law of his couldn't be measured with common sense. I don't need you to call. I'll go see for myself. Shi Mengqin took large strides and rushed to the bedroom. The one on the left. Tang Zheng reminded. Bang! Shi Mengqin pushed open the door and suddenly stopped. She let out a scream and stared dumbfoundedly at the bed, unable to speak for a long time. Seeing this, Fang Chonghua immediately rushed over. Mengqin, what's wrong? Don't come over. Go over there. Shi Mengqin pushed her husband away but looked at Tang Zheng with eyes that were about to spit fire. She grabbed onto Tang Zheng's clothes and angrily said, Tang Zheng, so you are this kind of person. You beast, you actually dared to do this kind of thing to my daughter. I'll kill you. Finished speaking, she fiercely grabbed at Tang Zheng's face. Tang Zheng was shocked. What the hell? What did I do to make her so angry? He nimbly dodged Shi Mengqin's fingers and said, Auntie, if you have something to say then say it. Just what is going on? You still have the nerve to say it. You rogue, I really misjudged you. You caused my daughter to be so miserable. Shi Mengqin bitterly complained. Chapter 521. Tang Zheng was burning with anxiety, thinking that something bad had happened to Fang Shisha. Ignoring Shi Mengqin's attempts to stop him, he forcefully charged over. You're not allowed to look. Shi Mengqin loudly shouted. Tang Zheng had already seen clearly and let out a sigh of relief, but he did not know whether to laugh or cry. The large bed was laid out with 2 pairs of shining white thighs stretched out of the blanket, entangling together. It was truly a nosebleed scene. Without a doubt, Shi Mengqin had misunderstood. Seeing her daughter and another girl lying on the bed like this, she must have thought that Tang Zheng had slept with the 2 of them last night, and had a threesome. Fang Shisha and Linga were also woken up. Opening their sleepy eyes, Fang Shisha's face was especially rosy. Her lazy appearance was filled with boundless charm, clearly having been nourished. As an experienced person, how could Shi Mengqin not be clear? She firmly believed in her own judgment. Hating iron for not becoming steel, she glared at Fang Shisha and shouted, Shisha, come here. Fang Shisha sleepily rubbed her eyes and asked in a daze, Mom, why are you here? You still have the nerve to ask. How can you be so shameless? Shi Mengqin's eyes were red. She had painstakingly raised her daughter for 20 years. She was the standard young miss of a noble family. How did she become like this? Fang Shisha was confused and did not react. However, Tang Zheng had already come to a realization and hurriedly explained, Auntie, it's not what you think. I saw it with my own eyes. Is there a mistake? Tang Zheng, you're still young, so why don't you learn well? Don't think that just because you have a bit of skill, you can play with girls. Tang Zheng did not know whether to laugh or cry. This big hat was placed on him too fiercely. How did he play with girls? Master, who is she? She's so noisy, making Linga unable to sleep. Linga squinted her eyes and acted like a spoiled child as she asked. Master? Shi Mengqin's eyes widened. Was this role-playing? Speaking of which, I'm already so old, but I've never played these games before. If this wasn't toying with a girl, then what was? The evidence was irrefutable, causing Shi Mengqin's anger to shoot up. She wanted nothing more than to kick Tang Zheng until he couldn't take care of himself. Fang Chonghua also walked to the door and glanced at her. His expression became especially serious as he said, Shisha, put on your clothes and come out to talk. Bang! The door was directly closed by Shi Mengqin, and the rustling sound of clothes being put on could be heard. Tang Zheng, come over here, Shi Mengqin shouted. Tang Zheng walked up to the 2 of them, feeling wronged. What is this? I didn't do anything. This is 2F** king wrong. You're being ridiculous, Fang Chonghua couldn't help but say. Before Tang Zheng could speak, he saw Tang Dahai walk out. Little Zheng, what happened? Grandpa, why are you up? Grandpa, how are you? Fang Chonghua stood up and greeted Tang Dahai. Even though he was angry at Tang Zheng, he still maintained enough respect for Tang Dahai. The 2 of you are. Seeing that the other party wasn't an ordinary person, Tang Dahai couldn't help but feel a bit uneasy as he carefully asked. Shi Mengqin wanted to angrily rebuke Tang Zheng, but Tang Zheng looked at her as if he could predict the future. Her heart thumped as she felt a burst of fear, causing her to swallow her words. They are Shusha's parents. Tang Zheng gently introduced. Tang Dahai was shocked. Aya, honored guests, little Zheng, what are you doing here? Hurry up and greet the guests. There isn't enough food in the house, right? I'll go buy some ingredients and cook. You guys sit down and treat it as your own home. Tang Dahai became busy. Tang Zheng wanted to persuade him, but stopped. If his grandfather left, then he would be able to explain. Otherwise, his grandfather would definitely be worried. Fang Chonghua saw through Tang Zheng's thoughts, so he didn't try to persuade him. After the old man left the house, Fang Chonghua's face sank as he solemnly said, Tang Zheng, we don't object to you and Shusha dating, but you can't be so absurd. Even though my Fang family isn't a big family, we aren't a family that messes around. He hadn't finished speaking when Fang Shusha finished putting on her clothes and walked out. She pouted and said, Dad, what are you doing? She was also a smart person, so she finally understood why her parents were so angry. Seeing that Tang Zheng was wrongly accused, her heart ached. Shusha, don't interrupt. Listen to your father, Shi Mengqin said. You guys listen to me. You all misunderstood. It's not what you think. Fang Shusha anxiously explained. We saw it with our own eyes. How can we misunderstand? You don't have to cover for him. Fang Shusha angrily stomped her foot, her face flushed red as she said, Why don't you guys believe your daughter? You really are infuriating. Tang Zheng let out a long breath and said, Uncle, Auntie, I know what you guys are thinking. You guys really misunderstood. Look at the sofa. Last night I slept here alone. The two looked towards the sofa and the blanket. There were indeed traces of someone sleeping here. In the previous situation, the two had overlooked this point. You guys really didn't sleep together? Shi Mengqin doubtfully asked. Mom, what are you saying? How could we be that kind of person? Fang Shusha's face turned red as she wished she could find a hole to hide in. Tang Zheng awkwardly coughed. Last night didn't he have such a dirty thought? If he really did that, then he would have been caught red-handed. But who is that girl? Shi Mengqin asked again. Why did she call him master? Master, Linger, did she do something wrong again? Just as her voice fell, Linger apprehensively walked out and carefully asked. This master caused Shi Mengqin's temper to rise as this title was simply too uncommon in today's society. Linger, you go in first. It has nothing to do with you. Oh, okay. If there's anything you need to call Linger, master. Linger looked at Tang Zheng and blinked her large watery eyes before retreating back into the room as if a burden had been lifted from her shoulders. Where did he go to kidnap such a beautiful girl? Shi Mengqin could not help but admit that Linger was truly beautiful. Moreover, she had a spiritual aura about her. He didn't kidnap her. It's a long story, but it's not what you think it is. Fang Shusha could not explain, so she directly said. Seeing her daughter so protective of Tang Zheng and that the other party was not what she thought it was, Shi Mengqin's anger gradually subsided as she said, Shusha, you returned to ordinary balance, so why didn't you go home? Why did you run over to his house? What kind of scandal is this? Isn't this just letting others poke at your backbone and gossip about you? This was my suggestion. This way I can protect Shusha. Tang Zheng rushed to say. You're saying that Shusha will be in danger? Fang Chonghua and Shi Mengqin's expressions changed at the same time. Previously, they thought that Tang Zheng had already resolved the crisis and that their daughter would not be in danger, but it turned out that was not the case. Shi Mengqin flipped out and asked, Tang Zheng, what did you do? Not only did you implicate our family's business, you even affected our daughter's life. Auntie, I also did not want to do this, but you can rest assured that I will not let anyone harm Shusha. Did you guarantee it? I know you are very powerful, but do you think the other party is a freeloader? A few days ago, you caused such a huge commotion in Changheng City, so don't think that we don't know that it was you. You are a single person, while the other side is an organization and a country. Can you beat them? They are not as strong as you say, and I am also not as weak as you think. Shusha is my woman, so I will protect her. This is my responsibility and obligation. Tang Jing said resolutely. You are too arrogant. Mom, can't you speak less? Fang Shusha angrily stamped her feet. If I spoke less, you would have believed that your life would be in danger. This won't do, you must come back with me. I don't care who the other party is. Tang Jing, let me tell you, you must solve this problem. If something really happens to Shusha, even if I become a ghost, I will not let you go. Shi Mengqin was truly anxious. Dad, you should persuade Mom that it is not as serious as she says. Tang Zheng is very powerful and can solve this problem. Fang Shusha anxiously said. Fang Chongguo was indifferent as he could not help but re-evaluate his daughter's boyfriend. Was he really suitable for his daughter? He did not care about his own business, but what he cared about the most was his daughter's safety. If Tang Zheng really threatened his daughter's safety, then he did not mind breaking them up. Tang Zheng, we will protect our daughter. In this period of time, don't come looking for her. Wait until you have solved this problem. Fang Chongguo said in a deep voice. Dad, you can't do this. You can't break me and Tang Zheng apart. I'm not trying to break you two apart, but I'm testing his ability and sense of responsibility as a man. If a man can't protect his own woman and talk about love, then this kind of person is a coward. I, Fang Chongguo, will never marry such a coward. Fang Chongguo righteously expressed his stance. He is not a coward. He is a hero with an indomitable spirit. Fang Shusha retorted. Then prove it to everyone. Tang Zheng was not in a rush to express his opinion as he mulled over these words. He had to admit that as a mature man, Fang Chongguo's words were not wrong. If a man cannot protect his own woman, then he was no different from a coward. Moreover, the current situation was special and he had to deal with Xingfeng, so he could not let Shusha take the risk and travel with him. Instead, letting him stay by his parents' side was perhaps the smallest goal and would be safer. Uncle, I agree with what you said. I will prove to you that I am a man with an indomitable spirit. You can bring Shusha back, but you must protect her. Tang Jing said. No. Fang Shusha immediately retorted. Shusha, listen to me. Tang Zheng advised. I want to face the difficulties with you. Tang Zheng smiled and rubbed her hair and said, Believe me, I can solve these problems. You must have confidence in me. Seeing Tang Zheng's resolute eyes, Fang Shusha knew that he had already made up his mind. There was no point in saying anything more, so she compromised. Fang Chongguo and Shi Mengqin looked at each other and could not help but sigh. Their daughter had grown up and did not listen to them but listened to Tang Zheng. As parents, they could not help but feel a sense of helplessness. Dong dong. Chapter 522. It was an unfamiliar woman's voice. Shi Mengqin suspiciously looked at Tang Zheng as if she was saying, Could it be that you've been flirting with women again? Tang Zheng acted as if he did not see anything as his eyes turned cold and he became alert. He had just returned to ordinary balance and someone had already come knocking on his door. The other party was definitely not an ordinary person. When he opened the door, he saw an unfamiliar yet beautiful face. This face was still charming and he could imagine how beautiful she was when she was young. Tang Zheng was indifferent as he cautiously asked, Who are you? When the person saw Tang Zheng, her expression immediately became excited as she stared at him and asked, You are Tang Zheng? Yes, what do you want? You have a jade pendant with the word martial carved on it. Can you let me see it? The other party carefully asked. Tang Zheng was shocked and said, Who exactly are you? I am. The other party was startled. I have no enmity towards you. Can you first give me the jade pendant? I'm sorry, you've found the wrong person. I don't have any jade pendant. Seeing the other party's fervent gaze, Tang Zheng gradually realized something and directly refused, preparing to close the door. But a hand suddenly stretched out from behind the other party and blocked the door. Unhappily said, Tang Zheng, don't be so rude. Marshall walked out and angrily looked at Tang Zheng. When Tang Zheng saw Marshall, his expression became even more tense. Marshall, How many times have I told you that I will not go to the Marshall organization? Don't waste your time. Marshall wanted to refute, but Lan Yu took the initiative and waved his hand, indicating that it was fine. He faintly smiled and said, Tang Zheng, we have no enmity towards you. Please be at ease. I don't care if you have enmity or not. I have no relationship with you, so please do not disturb my life. With a bang, Tang Zheng fiercely closed the door. The three members of the Fang family looked at him suspiciously, especially Fang Shisha, who knew Tang Zheng better. She knew that he would never lose his temper for no reason, so she asked with concern, "What's wrong?" Tang Zheng reluctantly squeezed out a smile and said, "It's nothing." In fact, as smart as he was, he had already guessed a few things. Wu was a proud person. He could guess who the person who made her so obedient was if he used his brain a little. She was definitely one of the upper echelons of the martial arts organization, or even the wife of the martial arts organization's sect master. In other words, she could be his biological mother. No matter who she was, Tang Zheng had no interest in her. In the past, he had this attitude in front of the sect master of the martial sect. Therefore, he had the same attitude in front of this person. Shi Mengqin rolled her eyes and bluntly said, "It can't be a woman you provoked outside, right? She seems to be quite a bit older than you." "Mom, what are you talking about?" Fang Shisha pouted and complained anxiously. "Shisha, come in with me. I have something to give you." Tang Zheng ignored Shi Mengqin's teasing and held Fang Shisha's hand as they entered the bedroom. Even Ling Er was invited out. Shi Mengqin and Fang Chonghua stared with wide eyes. After hesitating for a while, Shi Mengqin indignantly said, "What is he trying to do? Is he trying to do something bad in front of us?" Fang Chonghua's face sunk as he reprimanded, "Don't talk nonsense. You are a mother. How can you talk about your own daughter like that? Just wait." Inside the bedroom, Fang Shisha curiously looked at Tang Zheng and asked, "What's the matter?" Tang Zheng squeezed out a smile and said, "Yesterday at the mall, didn't I say that I wanted to give you a present? Did you forget?" Fang Shisha happily opened her eyes wide and said, "Of course I didn't forget. Could it be that there really is a present?" She thought that Tang Zheng was joking, so she didn't pay much attention to it. Dang, dang, dang. "Look, what is this?" Tang Zheng waved his hand as if he was presenting a treasure. A purple ancient dress appeared in the air, quietly floating in the air. It was mysterious and alluring. "What is this?" "It is called the Golden Jade Purple Robe. It is a defensive treasure. I accidentally bought it at an auction and it is a gift for you," Tang Zheng said as if he was asking for credit. "This is too precious." Fang Shisha was incomparably surprised, but she knew that this golden jade purple robe was priceless. In reality, this golden jade purple robe was bought by Yang Liuyun as a favor, so he didn't spend a single cent. Compared to you, this golden jade purple robe is worthless. "You are the most important to me," Tang Zheng said emotionally. He clearly saw that Fang Shisha's eyes were covered with a layer of mist. "In the future, with this golden jade purple robe to protect you, I will be more at ease." Fang Shisha was really moved. Not only because this gift was priceless, but also because Tang Zheng always thought of her and missed her. This was the most important thing. Fang Shisha was unable to restrain her emotions. She threw herself into Tang Zheng's arms and took the initiative to give him a kiss. She didn't care about her parents, who were just a wall away. After a long time, their lips reluctantly separated, but they still held each other tightly. Their two hearts were inseparably stuck together. "You are too good to me," Fang Shisha said infatuatedly. Tang Zheng smiled and stroked her cheeks and said, "I should be good to you. You are my girlfriend. If I don't treat you well, who else should I treat well?" Although these words were ordinary, in Fang Shisha's ears, they were extremely moving words of love. Her heart was about to melt. "You are too good at sweet talking. Which girl can resist? However, I like to hear it. In the future, you have to say it to me more." Fang Shisha's little girl mentality was triggered. "Okay, I promise you. In the future, I will say it to you more. As long as you don't think it's too corny. When we are alone, it's not corny. I like to hear it. Try it on first." It must be very beautiful. Fang Shusha gently nodded. In front of Tang Zheng, she began to undress. If it was before, she would be too embarrassed to do this in broad daylight. Unless Tang Zheng used force. But at this very moment, she was willing to do anything for him. Piece after piece of clothing fell. Traces of white and delicate skin were exposed to the air. It added a trace of spring to the cold winter. Her body was like a peerless work of art. When it was displayed in front of Tang Zheng, it was beautiful and moving. Tang Zheng stared without blinking. There was not a trace of improper thoughts in his eyes. There was only deep love. So beautiful. He praised from the bottom of his heart. Fang Shusha faintly smiled. She stuck out her chest as if she wanted him to see more clearly. Then she gently said, "Help me put it on." The golden jade purple robe was an ancient costume. It took a lot of effort to put it on. When it was properly put on, Fang Shusha's body had a trace of spiritual energy. She was like a fairy descending to the mortal world. So beautiful. Tang Zheng sincerely praised, "Try to circulate your true qi and pour it into the golden jade purple robe." Fang Shusha knew that this was to activate the golden jade purple robe. She did as she was told. Traces of true qi slowly poured into the golden jade purple robe. Shua. A purple light suddenly burst out, dyeing the entire room into a purple sea. Fang Shusha was wrapped in the purple light. She slowly flew up until she was suspended in the air. She was especially mysterious and noble, like a fairy descending to the mortal world. Not long after, the golden jade purple robe gradually disappeared from the surface of her body. The purple light disappeared. Finally, the golden jade purple robe completely disappeared. It was as if it had never appeared. Fang Shusha safely landed on the ground. She was once again naked. She could not help but look at her own body in surprise. It was still smooth and delicate, like mutton fat jade. "Where's the golden jade purple robe?" she asked, dumbfounded. Tang Zheng faintly smiled. "It's already hidden on the surface of your body. You can wear other clothes as usual. It's only a layer of protection. It won't affect your daily life." "Wow, that's really too amazing. Then wouldn't I be invulnerable? Normal weapons can't hurt you. Why don't you try?" Fang Shusha picked up a pair of scissors and nervously asked, "Will there really be no problem?" Tang Zheng nodded his head and gave her an encouraging look. Fang Shusha clenched her teeth and fiercely stabbed the scissors into her arm. There was no blood. The scissors stopped on the surface of her skin. No matter how hard she tried, it was as if there was an invisible barrier blocking it. "Wow, it really works." Fang Shusha cheered. Tang Zheng also gave a gratified smile. Fang Shusha loudly shouted and directly threw herself into Tang Zheng's embrace. Her naked body intimately came into contact with Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng's head shook. He could not help but feel restless. His claws moved from her waist, preparing to attack her. Fang Shusha's face was red. She bit her lips and allowed him to take advantage of her. Dong dong. Suddenly, the door was heavily knocked on. "Tang Zheng, Shusha, what are you two doing in there? Hurry up and come out." Shi Mengqin saw that the two had not come out and directly came knocking on the door. Fang Shusha was like a little deer that had been caught red-handed. She jumped out of Tang Zheng's embrace and bashfully replied, "Mom, don't knock anymore. We'll come out soon." Hurriedly putting on his clothes, Tang Zheng crossed his arms and enjoyed the beautiful scenery. Fang Shusha dressed neatly and hurriedly opened the door. Her face was red like a ripe apple. Shi Mengqin fiercely glared at Tang Zheng, wishing she could swallow him whole. Seeing her daughter's expression, the two were definitely not doing anything good. This Tang Zheng's guts were simply too big. "What are you two doing?" "Nothing." Fang Shusha guiltily said. Shi Mengqin coldly snorted and pulled Fang Shusha out of the room. "Come, let's go home." Fang Shusha secretly stuck out her tongue at Tang Zheng and made a helpless face as she was pulled to the door. Creak. The door opened and Shi Mengqin lifted her leg to walk out. However, she was blocked by two people. She could not help but wrinkle her eyebrows and said, "What are you doing? Don't block the way. Impudent, how can you say that? Marshall was helpless against Tang Zheng, but he could not tolerate other people's attitude towards his master's wife. Shi Mengqin was frightened and unconsciously took a step back. The other party's aura was simply too strong. Lan Yu acted as if she did not hear anything and only stared blankly at Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng's face was expressionless, but his heart was incomparably fretful. He unhappily said, "Didn't I tell you? We have nothing to talk about, so don't disturb me." You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,